Da, 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 da. I had an intermission with no music or any title card because this is all last minute. Hello, everyone that's here.
You
Now I'm
gotta love
hearing
it, right?
myself. I'm hearing myself. Ah, technology.
All right, I checked. The stream can hear both me and you.
Wonderful. I spent the last hour trying to get software to work and it didn't. So we're just gonna roll with it.
Hey, so welcome to the Russian Wanderer and Collector Kaney
Caney? Canine?
K9
Canine.
and Astronauts here. So
Yay! I'm so glad everyone's here because I'm a few minutes late because I was trying to get program to work and then program didn't work and then it still doesn't work. So, well. I'm also drinking water throughout the stream because I have not had enough today. So, hooray! Welcome to the live stream. We're doing this because I didn't want to make a video today. It's not like I spent the last 31 days doing videos or so. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, so we're not worried about doing videos today because I'm tired still, but mostly excited to go back to doing normal videos because this whole month was like an insane amount of work that my normal videos don't usually
Question.
do.
We got a question from Psycho O's. So what was your favorite Mono Monster video, and which cosplay did you have the most fun and most annoyance making?
Favorite is tricky because I liked a lot of them. I think what was the one that I was really proud of? I would really liked Day 29 because of I'm just gonna pull these up here on YouTube so we can talk while we're looking at it. We'll keep it in theater mode. So Day 29 was really fun because it wasn't just that I was doing like, Frankenstein stuff or talking about I was mostly talking about the bride's like crazy articulation range. Um, that was like a big deal because I was really excited about this figure. But my favorite part was this whole bit at the end when everything's on fire, because that was an adventure. Like doing the heavier stuff like this, where I was like layering like smoke and fire and all this other stuff to it, was what made it really fun because I got to do more work than I normally do on a video. And then adding to that, the most annoying was doing the Frankenstein because that was a giant head of latex that was stuck so close to my face that every time I blinked, my eyelids would scratch the latex.
You know what I'm surprised you didn't do is dub over your audio for the Frankenstein videos, since unless that was the muffling was intentional for the Frankenstein
I
monster.
was gonna dub it over initially, and then I heard the way my voice sounded through the muffling that I was like, oh, that actually sounded cool. And so then I started adjusting the audio levels to make sure it came through legible. Um, and also those intros were just really short. The costume I like doing the most is the werewolf because that was the by far the easiest. Because I was like, how am I doing the werewolf? When I was thinking about it, this video is brought to you by football. Um, anyways, doing the werewolf stuff was fun because all this was a Spirit Halloween costume set I bought, which was just like the shirt with the werewolf fur attached and then the head. And so that made it kind of fun to work with. I do wish the jaw was easier to move because if I was trying to like, so I was hoping that the jaw would move when I
Go like
spoke.
this, go for like
Yeah,
that.
but in order for me to do that, I had to basically I would have to talk like this to get the jaw to actually move fully. And then I was like watching an old Power Rangers episode, and I was like, wait a second, they don't even match lip flaps. I don't have to worry about that.
It turns to like it turns into an old Godzilla dub where it's just like,
Hmm.
your mouth keeps opening, but then you stop talking, even though your mouth is still moving.
Yeah, and so I saw stuff like that was like, Power Rangers isn't like a big production in terms of like it's a professional production. And I'm just like, yeah, if they can get away with here's this monster and we're not seeing its lips move, then I can get away with it.
I mean, to be fair, Power Rangers has a budget of like $2 half the time.
I had a budget of $4, so it makes me better. Not really. I didn't have a budget of anything. I just spent money. Um, But yeah,
I
so doing that
say
stuff was fun because I
I
think I think so that's probably like I think day 29 was the most fun to edit. I gave myself like a full day each to edit the last three because they required a little bit more work.
I say a favorite episode for mine is a year to tie between the Beetleborgs or the Nightmare episode, the Nightmare for Christmas episode.
The Night Before Christmas episode was fun because I that one was the last thing I shot for the whole month was the Nightmare episode because I knew I had to clear the shelf to put all the Nightmare for Christmas stuff up and then also do all the video stuff for it, and that was actually the last stuff that I filmed was the Nightmare stuff. And that would have been a narrated episode where I like put something up and then did the audio over so it'd be quicker. But by that point, I was tired of doing narration. I was like, yeah, this one would be long. And I actually cut
If
like 15 minutes out of that video, to be
if you had
honest.
time, if it was like if you have your own hyperbolic time chamber kind of scenarios, like you should have made that video a musical.
Yeah, if I had the time, some of these I think would have turned out better. If you have a discerning eye for what choices were made, yes, me doing a whole episode of Rhinoceratu that's just a NECA Toon figure and a single Migo, or doing like the Invisible Man where it's just one Migo figure and I filled it with a bunch of comedy bits. That is, I was stretching to make it to 31 days.
The Nosferatu episode is happy to tie in with the new SpongeBob episode featuring him.
I
So
couldn't I
that was
couldn't believe
happy.
that happened. This video jumped like 40 views after the SpongeBob episode. That was the
It was
crazy part.
that was like the happy accident kind of scenario.
Hmm. And so like some
Oh,
of these were like obviously, and the thing was too, and this is a production secret. This Migo Frankenstein episode where it's five Migos, that was originally two different videos, one for Frankenstein and Bride, and then one for the Young Frankenstein. But then I happened to find the April O'Neil as the Bride of Frankenstein. Like I think I found it while I was working on Mummy Week, so it just barely got into the month. And then adding to that, guess what I found the day after the NECA Frankenstein video went up?
was it was it Donnie Visible Man or is that
Nope,
not out yet?
no, he's not out yet. I found the retro carded Frankenstein
Ah, retro
at
card.
Target right after the NECA Frankenstein video went up, and I was like, "Dang, you couldn't have been here a week sooner." So I got the retro Frankenstein now, but it showed up way too late to make it into a video. But
I do
that's
have to
okay.
say I haven't I didn't really pay attention to the monster turtle figures that much when they first announced, but now like looking into them when I saw your videos, I am really impressed with Leonardo having the whole shell storage gimmick as
Mm,
the old, that is like a good, that was a really clever
yeah,
nod to the battle shell turtle figures.
and that's the thing I really like about them is they're the most inventive of all the Turtles figures that anyone's putting out right now. And it's like I would drop every other Turtles toy line except for that one. That's like the top tier one for me. Um, and yeah, especially like the Leo with the battle shell thing, just like that blew my mind so much. And then having it is even
The
better.
big thing like I took from this is the NECA turtle stuff and just Jada Toys is like a big surprise for me because I just knew them as the metal figure
Yeah,
companies, figure companies. So seeing your reviews of them and seeing like, because I saw them at was it Comic Con? They revealed their Capcom line.
yeah.
So when I first saw that, I was like, I was kind of interested, but also like, are you gonna have diecast or anything? But seeing the reviews of the Jada figures, like, gave me like a lot, like actually really a lot optimism for those Capcom figures. A lot more now,
And
seeing how good the Jada monsters are.
and adding to that, that was a very common thing. I got a lot of comments from people going, "Oh wow, I didn't know these Jada figures were this good." Because yeah, I mean they've flown under the radar in a way, but they've also done a really good job of like making an impression.
How much are they?
They run $25 a piece, so
Same price as the Marvel Legend, with probably more value.
yeah. I just got the deluxe Dracula that has the Bela Lugosi official likeness. I don't have it in here. I should have brought it with me, but I did just get the deluxe Jada Dracula. So it's like monster
Y-
stuff still going.
Hold on. I'll be back. I need to do something. I'll be back.
All right, yeah, no problem. I'll go through some comments. Um, so yeah, we were just kind of talking about that. Let's see. Yeah, so like now that I'm done with Month of Monsters, we're gonna go back to normal videos, but like next week's videos are super easy for me to make. Um, let's see. Oh, Russian Wanderers talking about how would you describe Sid Mead's style? I describe it the same way he described it, which is futuristic without worrying about realism. Essentially, as a concept artist for doing stuff like Tron and Blade Runner, he was looking at what would we think the future look like, and what would we want it to look like, as opposed to what would actually work in reality. Which is also why Turn A Gundam's designs are just like all over the place. Um, I see a couple comments talk about the werewolf costume being great, which is awesome. LPH, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining the chat. Um, he said so it's better than some fan made videos. Yeah, that I was pushing to make this as the whole video series as high quality as possible. Welcome to the chat, Common Writer 64. Um, but just in general, the thing biggest takeaway I think from doing an entire daily video series. I don't want to do this again. This was really fun to do, but I worked ahead on this series, so it sort of made it for it made it to be kind of like an experience where it was like how can I do 31 videos? And I think that normally if you're going to go into doing like a daily video series, you want to do videos that are smaller so people have time to watch them, which is why most of these were like 10 minutes or less. And then in other cases, you want to sort of make them easier on a production side. And for me, it was sort of easier when it came to filming. So like for example, the first week I filmed was Werewolf Week, so I did all the intros as doing the werewolf stuff, and I just did that all in one night. And then I filmed all the toys in one day, and then I brought it all together in editing. And then I went backward and I worked on the Dracula week because that required heavier makeup. And then the next week I worked on was the Mummy week. I did the Frankenstein week as well, all in one night because it's like once I was in costume, I had to do costume stuff. For Mummy week though, here's a fun fact: the Invisible Man and Fan of the Opera episodes was one night, and then the rest of the Mummy stuff was another night because I after doing like a bunch of takes completely with my head covered, it was really exhausting. And so I just split up the work there. The Wild Card Weekend episodes, like the Munsters episode or the Beetleborgs one, those were fun to do because it was easy to sort of split, and do something where I could just be on camera normal, which was way easier than doing all the costume and makeup work, that brought together the whole thing. And so I think that it was already an insane amount of workload trying to do 31 videos, but then it also ended up being kind of fulfilling, but then also incredibly exhausting. Like by the end, I was just burning out really, really bad. Um, so yeah. All right. So, anyways, moving back to the comments here. LPH says, anyone makes Thanksgiving themed toys? Honestly, I haven't seen anybody. Someone should make like a turkey who's also like a commando and like carries a bunch of bazookas. Nixter says, hi, everybody. Hi, Nixter. Welcome to the chat. Um, Psycho said, you did do daily videos back in the day. Yeah, in 2009, when I first got started, I was doing daily videos, but a lot of those were point orange tinted webcam at toy talk upload video. It was very few editing phases. Um, let's see, Commander 64, what's going on today? Today's just about streaming and talking about Month of Monsters, and we can talk about other things too. And if you have any questions, you can ask that, and that's fun. Let's see, Russian Wanderer, thoughts on Turn A movies? Yeah, the Turn A Gundam movies suck. The show is better. Nixter says, I have it on good authority he couldn't see with his head wrapped and the Phantom of the Opera mask on. This is true because we couldn't see an eyeball in order to continue the Invisible Man illusion. And yeah, that was really hard because then it was like, it was sort of like how like Kamen Rider suit actors, when they get the close-up helmets, there was like this little slit of light that I could kind of see out of, and that was about it. Otherwise, it was the complete invisibility. I could not see a thing. Collector K9 says the Beetleborgs video was probably my favorite one. I'm glad you enjoyed that one because I had fun doing that. I especially like my favorite bit. I think one of my favorite bits I even did for the whole month was the little ending montage because I wanted to homage the end credits, like little skits that the Hillhurst monsters would do. and so doing that was really fun. Kamen Rider 64, would you be totally down to see another adaptation for Kamen Rider in America? I would, in the sense that I think that you could do something with Kamen Rider where instead of trying to take the footage from a Kamen Rider show and then making like another Kamen Rider show, like take the idea of Kamen Rider and then like adapt it to like a Western audience. Like it's totally doable. Ultraman has done this a couple times with Ultraman Great and Powered, and they're doing an animated Ultraman movie that isn't, it's not a remake of something else that already exists. And I think that that's the way that adaptations should approach it now because while we had the sort of Power Ranger style taking footage was a good budget savior when the market wasn't there, but now that the market does exist, it would kind of be something to put it side by side with the Japanese shows, but is its own thing. Because with Ultraman, they when they talk about like when they bring together like a crowd of Ultraman, Great and Power get put in there, and they were co-productions of Super Riot and an Australian company, but they were officially produced in English and they were designed for America. And I think that does work better than just trying to readapt something that already exists. Russian Wanderer, Super Link, or Seed Destiny. Seed Destiny all the way. Psycho, now that 20 years Sentai movies is on the table, what would you like to see get the 20th treatment? O's 20th? I think O's should stop at 10 because that was a great movie that I have no problems with, and I mean that unironically. Um, in terms of Sentai, 20 years after Sentai, I think 20 years after Deca Ranger's almost a shoe-in, so we don't even need to say that one. But it would be kind of nice if they did a reunion for Maji Ranger, because I think they don't get to come back as much besides Maji Yellow. Okay, Rush Wanderer says your cosplays were better than Super Link CG and effects. Well, thank you. It doesn't take much to be better than Super Link CG effects. Let's see, Commodore 64. Now, which series would you pick to be adapted? If I were to have to pick a show to get adapted, um, I probably would go with like Kamen Rider Saber because I feel like with the potential to have a bunch of characters, but more specifically because every main character in that show, minus May, is a Kamen Rider, it makes it easier for footage usage. Like you won't have as much footage that has like a civilian character into it. It's kind of what made Kamen Rider hard to adapt is that a lot of, especially Heisei Rider, is there'll be human characters who aren't writers in a lot of the fight scenes that the writer footage is using, and so that makes it a little bit trickier to adapt. So somebody like something like Saber, where they had more writer suits without the civilian part of it, would probably make for a better adaptation. Nixter says I have a lot of behind the scenes stuff on good authority on this channel. I asked the man himself. That you do, and that's the thing too. I'm fairly reachable by YouTube comment or Twitter. Um, I'm still on Twitter. I'm not planning to leave Twitter. I'm watching, all the drama unfold with Twitter's ownership and kind of laughing at it. So I'm sticking around. They'll basically have to kick me out at this point. So if you're looking for me to ask questions, you always can. And yeah, I mean the fun part is that with YouTube and Twitter, they're both kind of total nightmares to be on as a creator, but alternatively, there's not really much better place to go. So we're here. It's fun. K9 says Saber's aesthetics and gimmick are boring. It would bomb here. The thing with the gimmick is that and the thing with adaptations too is, and this is something I notice Power Rangers struggling with. It's like, well, at does the what point does this type of thing appeal to kids, or what would make it appeal more to kids? Because I'm not sure if Power Rangers is even appealing to kids anymore. And I think that if you're doing an adaptation where you're wanting to bring the toy line over, you're gonna have to get the kids market. But you could do something like where we've had Black Sun come over and Futo PI, where it sort of targets an older audience, and then you don't have to worry about the toy element as much.
All right, back. Sorry about that. Had to help family bring in groceries.
Yeah, no worries.
So what you guys talk? So what were you talking about?
We were just talking about Kamen Rider adaptations, and how I said that I was basically like, I would prefer adaptations to just to just be like, here's a new production in the vein of Kamen Rider, as opposed to
I am surprised.
like pulling footage. But then where I was saying like Saber would be a good pick to pull footage from because there was less civilian characters in fight scenes.
I am surprised. Philip PI has not got dubbed yet. I imagine they might be working on it,
It
but
got dubbed
maybe
into Spanish.
yeah. So who knows? There might be an English dub eventually.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any more? What was the last question you read?
Let's see. We were at oh yeah, because Psycho said Steven Skyler as Isaac 2.0 basically for a Saber adaptation. Um,
All right.
Russian
So
Wanderer's talking about Kicker's English voice actor.
Brad Swaley.
Yeah,
Have you read Psycho O's now 20-year Sentai the Sentai
yeah. I
strips?
basically said Maji Ranger should get it 20 years later, so we were
Alright,
there. Brad Swaley's cool. I don't. Thing with voice acting performances is that um especially if it's in the 2000s, it's hard to judge it compared to like any modern voice acting standard because especially in the dubbing scene, it was a whole different game than it is now.
well, because it's interesting because right now me and my friends are watching all Dragon Ball, like the whole franchise. It's kind of interesting seeing how, because you went from Dragon Ball, which I think that dub was still holds up to Kai with modern dubbing. Then we went back to GT, and you can really tell that kind of early 2000s dub because GT's dub is still definitely a 2000s dub compared to where they definitely did a few more script changes. And now we're watching Super, which is more faithful still back to modern style
The
dubbing.
most jarring part of watching Dragon Ball dubbed is if you watch Dragon Ball Z dubbed with the Funimation dub because the early part was redubbed way after they did Z and GT, and then suddenly like around the Frieza stuff, it just switches, and then they're going
Because
back to imitating the Ocean Cast.
Ocean, yeah, it's really jarring. Like, because they did
Yeah.
still redub. Like, they eventually did redub some scene because there technically two dubs of the funny Frieza saga because there's the very original one that aired where they definitely sound more like they're imitating all the original Ocean actors. Then there's later where they definitely sound more closer to their current voices, but there's still a little bit that Ocean
Hmm.
still in there. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's really funny because cause last time I watched Z all the way through was on the Orange Bricks. Yeah.
You mean with the horrible
Horrible cropping.
stretch,
I mean,
horrible copy?
there was no other option at the time. Like there,
Oh, there was the Dragon boxes, but you had to pay good
I
money
mean, when
to
I was
get them
watching the Orange Bricks, Dragon Boxes didn't exist yet.
because
So
the Dragon boxes came out to the West
they
2009,
were
maybe.
right. The first Dragon Box came out 6 weeks after the last Orange Brick.
Rick,
I was
yeah.
watching the bricks as they came out.
Do you know about those the sadly canceled level sets where they actually did
Yes,
buy to try to remaster the
those are
series to
the level sets are the best release, but we only got like
two?
22 episodes or something, like two
I don't remember.
volumes.
I don't think they completed the Sand Saga. I don't
Nope,
think so.
they didn't finish the Saiyan saga. The thing with Dragon Ball Z is that nowadays it's like it's been so screwed over in releases. I don't care anymore. They don't have to release it good because they're never going to release it good at this point. And at this point, I'm not even going to watch it, so I don't even think I care anymore. Because I'm like, I'll just watch Kai. I know the story. I've done the whole run of episodes like twice in my life. I have no reason to go back to the full version of Z anymore because I just don't have the time.
I know there's a lot of people that go like, "Well, Z is still better than Kai because this and that," and like, look, there's definitely some Kai definitely does cut some. I think the pacing in Kai is definitely erratic, but still, like overall, I think in a modern day, Kai is just more easier to watch than all of Z. And for me, and you were just a dub only watcher, just Kai always because
Yeah,
there's
the dub is
better.
better. Yeah. Um. Yeah. No, and that's the thing too is that like just on this little like side tangent, I'm watching Naruto Shippuden and I'm trying to watch the entire thing because I've never done it, and I'm like I'm almost at the 100 episode mark, and I'm like, boy, I've still got four
Is
fifths
that
of the show.
what is that? Are you still in the pain arc or by then? I
No,
don't
I haven't
remember.
gotten to the pain arc yet.
Wow, real? Because
I'm on
I
I'm on
Shippuden.
episode like 92, and they just had the arc with like, oh look, two Akatsuki showed up. Like it is so slow.
Shippuden is one of those series that only it's like how people joke some people only watch Rider through Twitter. That's me with Shippuden through like old YouTube uploads and Twitter is
The best way
I
to watch Shippuden is just to play the Ultimate Ninja games.
the Ultimate Ninja Storm game. That's how
Yeah.
I'm doing it. It just I just the pacing. The problem is just it's not even the filler. It's the pacing of how
I
Parrot
I
adapted.
actually my hot take is that I like the filler in Shippuden more because the pacing of the canon arcs is really slow because 'cause they're dragging it out, whereas when they get to do a filler arc, it's just, like, really nicely paced. Like, I've enjoyed, like, both filler arcs so far because it's,
That's
like, the pace is
that's
so much quicker.
that's the thing with filler is I think so many people anime think filler is bad, but really is it just how the writing the filler? Does the filler still feel like part of the original series or not?
Yeah.
And because there's some filler episodes in Z I still watch. I'm just watching Kai 'cause they're just that good of the development of the
Mhm.
characters. Especially since I'm watching True Super now, and so, honestly, I think some of the best episodes in Super are some of the the quote unquote filler episodes
Yeah. No,
where
I
they
like
actually
Super's
are
filler quite a
developed the
bit.
characters.
Like, Super's filler is great, and the thing is too is, like, actually this is, again, hot take, the Shippuden filler for Naruto is great. Like, most of it is expanding on character stuff that the main storyline never gets to touch. Like, they had a filler arc in Shippuden that does a whole backstory for Asuma. So that way in the next arc, where spoilers for a show that aired years ago, he dies, it's way more impactful because we know everything about him at this point. Like in the manga, because I'd read that far in the manga before, the manga was like, oh, he died, that's sad. But like they make you feel the impact more in the anime because they added a whole arc that was like character depth for him. And
That's that's pretty much me
yeah.
with Gohan and Z is like because the Great Saiyans I love adult Gohan, and like I think part of that is because of like a lot of the quote unquote filler stuff in the Great Saiyaman saga because I just think
Mm.
it just adds more to Gohan and Vidal's character. If you just skip all that, you just kind of lose the charm of adult Gohan. I personally think.
Yeah, and I think that that's also like, when we discuss like filler, filler can suck, but at the same time, if the filler's doing character development that the manga didn't have time for, I'm cool with it. If it's just, oh look, we're doing some dumb stuff that doesn't have any meaning, then that's where the problem lies. Like
Goku and Piccolo driver license is an exception on that, of
that's only
course.
one episode. If that was a 10 episode arc, I'd hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, one episode of filler that's doing some dumb stuff, great. Like the one where they're trying to remove Kakashi's mask in
That is still
Naruto.
my favorite episode of OG Naruto.
Exactly, and
Is
that's a filler episode, but it's fun, but it's one episode. But then it's like original Naruto has a bunch of arcs that don't mean anything. Like the Land of Tea arc doesn't do anything for anybody. And so I'm glad that like in Shippuden so far, I haven't hit any meaningless filler arcs. It's all been like, hey, let's
no
expand on
the
these
arc
characters.
the filler arc of OG Naruto. Me and my friends like to joke about is what was his name from who's the guy from the very first episode of Naruto, the guy with the white hair.
Mizuki, yeah, Mizuki.
He came back for our filler arc where he becomes a weird tiger man, and we all love to make fun of that because how ridiculous it
That
is.
one's weird, but at least they followed up on what happened to Mizuki.
Mm-hmm. Go back and reading some things in the chat. Let's see. Shao hasn't released Saban Mask Rider because I wonder how come Saban Mask Rider was never released on DVD, but Shao, yeah, it was not because of Toei thing, if I'm
Yep.
correct, right?
As far as I know, from everything I've looked into and everything that Stephen Ford's looked into, Master Rider and Dragon Knights rights defaulted to Toei, and they're got them under lock and key, and they don't want them out. So
I'm surprised Dragon Knight's more lock and key because that was successful in Japan, wasn't it? So I'm
it
surprised they.
was. The only reason I think we're not getting it distributed worldwide is because Toei just
Rank.
wants to push Japanese Kamen Rider. I think that maybe also why we don't have a Futo PI dub.
You think
Um,
also brand confusion for Dragon Knight's case?
it might be they might be trying to avoid brand confusion, but then again, Toei's also licensed their shows to 8 different platforms, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dragon
Uh,
Knight should come out. I think Master Rider shouldn't.
well,
Um,
I think Master Race should just for preservation
for
sakes.
preservation's sake, yes, but it's also it would the brand's already pretty much like a
It's a
chaotic
bad
mess. We
it's
don't
a
not
bad show, definitely, but it's like it's I rather
it's
not be lost media.
it's because the thing is that like with Master Rider, releasing it would be great for preservation, but the damage it would do to the Common Rider brand is not worth it.
I will always say they should jokingly just like shadow drop on the 2B with no announcement or something like that.
They should.
Just
Um,
no announcement. No, just let it be like a thing. Someone just go on 2B one day. Just type in Common Rider and they see Master Rider right there on 2B,
yep.
and that's how people discover it.
Yeah, because
Um,
like honestly, I think that Masked Rider is an important moment in history, but if that ends up being someone's first experience with Kamen Rider, they'll never want to watch anything again. And that's not that's a risk.
what's the rights thing with Mystic Knights? Because that's a
Irish
co-production,
company.
isn't it?
The Irish company is the problem.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And the thing is that apparently this is what Shout had said is that Saban looked into getting Masked Rider and Mystic Knights home video contracts for them, and they couldn't because of the other company. And so something's up with the Irish company that produced Mystic Knights, and they're still holding it, locking down. Because I mean, it's been released on DVD in Europe, but you know, we're
It's
not.
the whole same thing. It's almost like with RID 2001, where Disney has the rights kind of
I
scenario.
think Disney has the rights to RID 2001, doesn't even know it, and no one cares enough to look to
Well, that's
see.
me and my friend joke about. It's like even if Hazard does try to call Disney, people the fact that people like can move, change
Hmm.
positions, the job left. It's not as if, hey, can we have the rights to Transformers RID back again? And let's go like, why would we have the rights to your brand kind of
Exactly.
scenario?
Like they're going to be like, why would we have that? And they're like, can you look for the documentation? Like, why would I spend time doing that?
Yeah, that's the whole scenario.
Like Hasbro would have to pay somebody to go over to Disney in person to get permission to go through the files to find the documentation, and that would cost way more work than it is to release a show that most people don't remember.
Here's the thing: if we are gonna get it, just gonna release car robots, not the
Yeah.
if we ever gonna get release of that show, someone's just gonna be car robots because it's just easier to release it.
Hmm.
See more questions. Let's see. You have to watch any of Dragon Ball anime all the way through, but I have retried the manga. That's how I know. Let's see. Thoughts on Discotheque's Kamen Rider Black Blu-ray?
I can almost say for certain it's going to be our best Kamen Rider Blu-ray
Definitely. I
because
mean,
it's just Discotech. They
you
work
mean
on a different level.
honestly, I'm not sure it was intentional, but it's really good timing. Just release announcing that around the time Black Sun comes out, compared to no thing for Double when Fudo PI came out.
Yep. There was a thing Toku Chris tweeted talking about that Toei charges different amounts for Kamen Rider depending on their popularity.
Yeah,
Um,
that means Black. Yeah, Black has to be must be a penny, like a lot of money because
yeah.
it's one.
Here's the thing: is that he tweeted that, and so from what I've talked to people that I'm not going to disclose on stream, um, that sometimes if you see a release for a Toei show and it's expensive, it's because the company's trying to offset their costs because Toei's asking too much. And Discotech, when they licensed Just Beyond, they were at somebody asked in a live stream, why'd you do Just Beyond first instead of Gavan? And they said because Just Beyond was the cheapest one to get from Toei.
That makes me want them to reach Robotech and Gobotech. I imagine those are cheap.
They're probably dirt cheap. But so the thing is that if you're wondering, oh, why'd we get Ryuki and not Double, it may be just because Toei's charging more for Double than they are Ryuki.
Yeah. Let's
Um,
see.
and because
Uh,
everybody's got to remember whenever we're talking about Kamen Rider stuff on home video or streaming or whatever, Toei does not have a contract with any single company. They've not said, here is your here's your contract, go have fun. With Toei and Kamen Rider specifically, as well as pretty much every other franchise, they're like, "Oh, you want to license Kamen Rider? Which one do you want? Here is our menu." And then they pick one. They're like, "All right, here you go." And then someone else can come along
it's
and go, "We want that one. Oh,
it's
we want
it's
that one."
almost like a bidding war. It's like
It's not
here's the
even a bidding
price.
war per se. It's whoever gets there first.
Yeah.
Whoever gets there first, whoever can pay the fee, you get the show or the movie, and then that's just how it is.
Let's see. Read more. Someone's apparently trying to find background to release it for fans. Is that true? Like, I've been hearing
I'm sure
some things.
somebody's looking because nobody's paying attention at Warner Brothers Discovery.
I mean, was it Davis Abbey said we haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years,
I'm
even
like, are
though
you
like
living in 2026 or are you just making up numbers on the spot?
because is that counting Man? Are we counting Man of Steel or Dawn of Justice as a Superman movie?
Here's
That's
the
the
thing: technically, Dawn of Justice is a Superman movie,
so yeah. So because I see people count
but
like
if you talk about a solo Superman movie and a solo Harry Potter movie, it's not been 13 and 15; it's been 9 and 11.
11.
But and the thing is too is that like doing the math, Superman Returns was 16 years ago, so
Mhm.
Zaslav sucks.
Let's see. LPH. I still want the Aladdin TV show. Is that not on Disney Plus? The Aladdin TV show.
No, it's not. It's same thing for Buzz Lightyear Star Command. I know Buzz Lightyear Star Command is not on there because of Pixar does not like that show. Because Disney produced it, not Pixar, and they did not like Disney taking their property because there was because they weren't owned under the same label at the time.
Even though like they're all one company, so
They're
I
all
don't
one
get the
company now,
problem.
but there's a lot of like petty infighting at
Well,
companies.
it's weird because the last John Lasseter left, so you think the show would
It
have been
wasn't
free at that
Lasseter.
point.
That was. You see, the thing is, like Lasseter had a problem with the show, and then there was also a bunch of other people at Pixar that had a problem with the show.
Ah,
Um, because they felt like it was infringing on their characters. The other thing is that the Aladdin show, I suspect it's the same reason why we just got Bear in the Big Blue House on Disney Plus, and that is that the masters were not ready to go to streaming instantly. Um,
ah,
because when it comes to shows on Disney Plus, like I've watched, there's some episodes of X Men and Gargoyles that are like look like they're dying because Disney has been horrible, like absolutely horrible at releasing their TV shows on home video. The nature is that they don't have digital versions ready to just upload to streaming. They have to do work on all of them to put them up, and that's why some of these shows just aren't up there because they never even thought to have them available and ready.
it's so funny because I think back to when HBO Max first came out before it got destroyed. I remember when I first watched Ben 10 there when I got HBO Max. It was so weird because it was HD and widescreen and not 4:3 and crusty like the
Yep,
DVDs. It weirded me out because it was so weird to see, a show you watched so long in one way now, like fully like it's like mass technically what it was produced under.
that's
You
that's
know,
me with the Batman when I got the Blu-ray set, and
yeah.
I was like, widescreen, what? Ah! Like it blew my mind because I've seen that show like a dozen times.
Yeah, let's see more comments. Let's see. Robert James, I just want episodes to be ordered properly from all shows. Good luck with that, Disney. You really had to
I
complain with
I've
Disney.
already submitted 2 claims to Disney Plus customer support about the misaligned Spectacular Spider-Man episode.
Wait, which episodes?
Episode 18 is episode 26 on Disney Plus. Throws off the whole continuity.
Whoops.
It's one
Because
mistake, and
that's
that's I keep bugging them about it because I feel like they can fix that. It took them a year to fix the Incredible Hulk to put all those episodes in order. I don't know if they ever will fix Spider-Man the new animated series because they technically have it in the right order because it's the air date order. Because
because
MTV aired that show weird.
that show because I never fully binged new anime series. I never fully binged the show. Does that show have heavy continuity?
Somewhat, it's light continuity. Um, Honestly, just use the Wikipedia page to look at the episode order because it's the easiest way to do it.
Let's see. Let's see. There's also where all the early Cartoon Network shows pre Dexter's Lab also had like two stupid dogs. See, so it's Tobynin. Is that why Lightyear was made? Yeah, I think it's pretty much
Basically,
that.
that's why
Uh,
Lightyear ignored everything from Buzz Lightyear Star Command. That's that
even though
that
I personally prefer Starkey over Lightyear personally. Um, let's see. I think Toby probably doesn't want anything to do with both Kabutech and Robotech. Well, because
they
hey,
uploaded it to their YouTube channel
yeah, it's a
though.
channel, so yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Do you know that Gargoyles is on Blu-ray?
Not officially and not in Region One.
Well, I'll say because is it on Blu-ray in Canada or some other
No,
country? I
it's
know.
like somewhere in Europe, and I don't know if it's an official release or not.
Let's see.
It's very easy to
Oh,
put anything on Blu-ray and sell it on Etsy. Like Etsy is a bootleg paradise.
let's see. Robert James. I said, truth be told, I'm surprised there hasn't been people asking for Disney PR season to be on Disney Plus. Well, they don't own the show anymore. They can't.
Yeah,
That's the thing, just because they made the show, if the rights go to a different person, they just can't touch it.
and the this is also why they and then sometimes they pick up the rights to things they never owned. Like that's why they got a bunch of Marvel shows that they never had a hand in.
Hmm. I mean, and then if you live in foreign countries, they just have everything on Hulu on Disney Plus because Hulu's on every country.
Yeah.
So you too can watch Bleach on Disney Plus.
The current thing I've been hearing in the Hollywood circles is that Bob Chapek wants to make to cut a check to Universal for the rest of Hulu, so they can just fold Hulu into Disney Plus globally.
I mean, that's the thing with Hulu. Like that's the thing. Like I personally think. Hulu, I think is best. Probably, I know people don't like mergers and monopolies and all that stuff, but I think just it'll be better if Hulu just merged with Disney Plus personally,
Mhm.
because unlike unlike what's it, the Crunchyroll Funimation merger, where even though it's more convenient for us, it's kind of a nightmare for everything else besides us in terms of watchability. I don't think there won't be super anything lost if Hulu merged with Disney Plus because
Honestly, like, the thing I've this is my thing is that, like, we can't stop corporate mergers because once Disney bought Fox, everything's on the table now. Like, anybody can buy anything and merge, right?
mhm.
We can't stop that. Like, there's nothing we can do
I
about
mean,
that.
look at the Discovery Warner Brothers merger and
Exactly.
how
The only thing we can hope for is just more convenience. Like, if Disney wants to absorb Hulu and put everything onto one service, works for me. Like, at least it's easier, it's one subscription and not two. Because there's stuff on Hulu that Disney owns that they also have on Disney Plus. Like they have Runaways on both, or they have the Orville on both. And I'm like, can this just all be under one? And then I don't have to like worry
I mean
about stuff.
that's
Like
why
put
I break
Modoc
down.
on Disney Plus with the other Marvel shows. Put Cloak and Dagger on, Disney Plus. Like that kind of thing.
I mean, that's why I bought Crunchyroll finally, is because that's the problem is I don't want to balance like two anime subscriptions. I want to
Yeah.
keep up with. Man, I just rather have the one and once. That's why I finally just book it out and buy a Crunchyroll subscription because it was just convenient to have everything in one. Even
Yeah.
though so not everything for Funimation is on Crunchyroll, which annoys me.
Yeah, and that's just because of different contracts and stuff. But like
Contacts, yeah.
and that's the thing. If we're gonna have to go through corporate mergers, at least make it easy for us.
Because it's one of the things where it's sad. It's one of those like it helps. It's weirdly enough that they're helping the consumer in that point, but they're not helping like themselves internally
Yeah.
because all the nightmare with with these mergers and all that stuff. Let's see. I think we should got a third B Fire series after B Fire Kabuto.
Low toy sales, low ratings did not
Yep.
happen.
Uh, uh, Power Rangers 30th anniversary. I guess they're just asking thoughts on the 30th anniversary.
That special looks amazing, and it's the thing. I'm way more excited for the Mighty Morphin 30th anniversary special than I am Cosmic Fury, because all the actors that came back are the ones I wanted to come back because they deserve the spotlight. They've never gotten it before.
Let's see. Russian Wonder, hand drawn or digital animation, shot on film or shot on digital.
I'll always prefer cell animation and film because I'm just that's just me. But I do not mind digital animation. I don't mind
I mean,
digital
is that
video. It's
for
just
what?
just
For
how it
me, is
is.
like it's that scene from Incredibles 2. It's like animation's animation. I don't think one's better than the other because everything says their limitations and their limitations and advantages
Yep.
and their disadvantages and limitations. Like cell animation definitely there's definitely a little more like spirit in cell animations, but cell animation is so much more harder to work with compared to digital animation and all that
Nearly
stuff.
impossible. And I prefer 2D to 3D most times, but I wasn't sure if I wanted a 3D Dragon Ball movie, but superhero was great. So,
Like I
you
think
know,
that's the thing. Like any art form, you can use it as best and you can use it as worse.
I
For your
mean,
animation,
I gotta
can
say
be
one of the best 3D animated movies ever is Lupin the Third, the First.
that's done by Marza Animation, right?
I think
It's,
so.
yeah, because I know, they're the one who does all the Sonic CG animations. Plus, they work on the movies. And that movie, I still want to watch that movie. I haven't seen it yet, but that looks
It's
amazing.
gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it what it does is it takes the expressive colorfulness of 2D animation, but it brings it into a 3D world, and then it adds like textures and stuff, but it's still got the cartoony feel that a lot of 3D anime doesn't have. Like because it's not the cell shaded look, it's like actually cartoony. It's just got more
It's
texture.
better looking than Ghibli's first 3D movie.
Yep.
If you want a comparison, I will say with the Lupin movie, it's like it makes the curse thing of making Jigen look handsome, and like I find it so weird because I always imagine Jigen being like this
You also see his
kind of
eyes in the
bum.
movie.
Yeah, I always imagine Jigen as this scruffy bum of a man.
Yeah,
If I
no.
ever,
I remember when Hot Jigen was trending on Twitter. That was fun.
let's see, best and worst Gundam girl.
Worse is Flay. That's a default answer. No, Flay is the
Flay,
worst.
Flay, where she? What series is she from again? I'm
Flay
just blanking.
Ulster from Gundam Seed.
Okay, I never say.
She sexually abuses and manipulates the main character.
Mine will
because
forever
she's
be
racist. Yes,
mine will forever be what's her name from Wing, Rhea or Rena.
Relina.
She is wood. She is literally a plank of wood.
Relina at least did not abuse Hero
Yeah,
and
but I haven't
manipulate him
seen
into
Seed,
racism.
so I haven't
So,
seen Seed yet. So what I've seen, it's gonna be Relena because she's just deadpan plank of wood, does
yep.
nothing.
If Choo Choo from G Witch could stop being like weird towards people from space, she could be
Is that
best
is
Gundam
that
girl.
is that the pink? Is that
The
pink
the
Afro girl?
the pink Afro girl who compresses her entire hair into her helmet. I love it. Yeah,
I
no,
I
her
I didn't
scene of
catch.
like
I
just
Yeah, I
walking
didn't
up and
catch
punching
G
somebody
Witch.
has won me over. And I'm like, look, if you can just stop being mean to the space people, we're gonna be good.
Yeah, I didn't catch up with G Witch. I only seen the first two episodes. Which is, I really enjoy what I seen G Witch. It's
You
kind
need
of
to see
bad.
Choo Choo's beatdown because it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I see it all over Twitter because when episode came out, everyone was posting about it.
I love the hitbox graphic that someone made of like the angle and the velocity.
Um, Best for me, because I haven't seen every Gundam series, but for me, it's a tie between IMA from Bill Divers and May from Re-Rise. I just really like those two characters a lot and their stories.
I think for me, I could make a top 10 best Gundam girls like on the spot, and that's part of my problem. Um, let's do top 10 best Gundam girls right here. So yeah, May's in, May from Re-Rise. Four's in because I like a little crazy. Um, all right, let me just think. Rain's obviously in because G Gundam is life. Um, see
I need
now
to
I'm like I could do
rewatch.
this on the spot, and then now I can't do this on the spot.
I need to rewatch G, but I remember really loving Annabelle in G a lot.
She was good. Um, who was the best girl? Oh, Maru Ramius from Seed, love her. Um, Sumeragi from Double O, also great. Um, Aina Sahalin from uh, 8th MS team. God, why is this taking so much brain power?
Gundam names. That's why. That's your answer. Gundam names
Gundam
are hard.
names, yeah. Kudelia, Iron Blooded Orphans. Three more. Come on, brain work. Oh, Deanna from Turn A. Uh, uh, this reminding me of that video where Amon Villani was doing a Miss Marvel interview, and they're like, "Name all the MCU movies in 1 minute," and she like panicked halfway through. It's really when you're on the spot, your brain does not want to pick up sometimes. Um, I'm trying. I know who my last one is. My recent number one, but now I'm trying to remember because I ran out of the ones I bought statues of. There's at least one more, right? There's got to be an. Okay, so number one is Gigi Andalusia because she's
What
amazing.
series is she from?
She's from Hathaway. Her the way they animated her and her whole personality is great. Who's number 10? Oh God, it's Rue from Double Zeta. That's who I was trying to think of for this whole time. It's freaking
Is
Rue.
Kamen Rider 64. Do you guys know how come the Thursday Crosswords never got dubbed? Fusion failed. That's why. That's your answer. Fusion.
Fusion failed, and there's a plot relevant episode that involves Satanism.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I mostly think this Fusion just flopped. That's why we never got Boy Who Leaves Time.
Yeah,
Which
and
I mean,
the
could
thing
make
is
sense.
that I imagine we would have gotten a third season if it. I think we would have gotten the third season dub if it wasn't for the Satanism episode. It wasn't for the short episode count that kind of turned off Nick, and then having to deal with the crossover.
Here's what you think. If we would have got the dub, they wouldn't got back half the actors because
Regardless if they got actors back, they'd have to coordinate how many freaking characters to have different voices, even if they're replacement voices. It's way too much work if the show's not successful.
if was I'm gonna look up because Joshua said was retired at that point. Retired at that point. He's now back, but he was retired at that point. Uh, David. Why am I blanking on Davis's actor's name? I always feel
Um,
bad because I really like him, but I mean he's still working. But
I
like,
think
it's kind of a
they
shame.
could have gotten most of them back if they wanted to, but the show wasn't successful enough to make it.
It's kind of a shame that Brian Donovan. There we go. It's kind of a shame he only gets to play Rockwe nowadays because I think he's a great actor. But
Yeah.
that's all he just. It's one of those things where He's one of those, I'm not sure if that's up to him or not. Brendan Peacock is still available to work on, so he can come back. Takuya, Michael Riaz, I think, just fully retired, so they would have just got a new actor.
Yeah.
And they're pretty sure they couldn't got, and I'm pretty sure they could have got Quentin Flynn back as Marcus.
Oh, yeah, he was already doing voices in Fusion.
Yeah, so like 2 out of 4, 2 out of 3 is not bad, honestly. If they would
Yeah,
have
but then you
done,
had to worry about the Digimon voices, and then also like Sora and Izzy were there. And
I forgot. Dang it, that whole like I just find it funny the card game's doing that arc right now in the
yep,
card game because I remember not liking the cross war arc the Legend War arc at all.
I liked every character from the third season of Cross Wars, and I just hated the way they were all written.
Yeah, it's one of the
Because they
things where
had, I loved a lot of the elements of like, here's your main kids, here's your three other kids who are kind of mean, but like they weren't evil. But it was kind of like they would go into battles against each other. So you actually had like Tamers versus Tamers as like the main plot,
mm,
um, which was really cool and unique. And they never done it again. And I think that's such a great idea to have like, you know, not everybody's on the same team, but there's like two teams competing against each other.
Cross Wars
Um,
is one of those series I want to fully rewatch again because I remember not. I'm liking it, but also dislike this. There's a lot of moments where I like it and not like it at the same time.
it's better upon a rewatch, that's for sure.
I think it's one of the things where it's like I probably had to watch sub because even though I
Yeah,
really
watch it
like a lot
subbed.
of the voices in Fusions, that script is pretty bad.
That script's as bad as Dino Fury.
Yeah, like it's full of it like major dubisms, like 4 kids level dubisms. Because even though I could like it's very different compared to the old like Saban Disney era of Digimon, where it's like
it's better than Samurai scripts, but not by much.
well, my here's the difference. It's one of those things where Samurai was really badly translating Shinkenju scripts.
Yep.
That's the thing. Um,
I very much appreciate the English card game going, yeah, we're just going to use the Japanese names for the Crosswords kids, thanks.
well, I mean, they never dubbed, so it's like that's like, did they call
No,
Kudo Mikey?
even the stuff they dubbed for Fusion, they ignored all those dub names.
I think the only exception is Shoutmon. I think they. I did no Shoutmon, Omega Shoutmon's Omni Shoutmon, the card game.
Yeah, that's the only
That's it.
that's just to keep consistent with Omnimon, but they didn't use Mikey. They used Taiki and all the other like they used all the Japanese names, so it's like Kiriha and Nene and all them. So
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how like because I feel like I'm very I'm curious where in the world the 2020 dub is. I'm real curious where that
I would
is.
like to know because they were like, "Here's two voice actors. Here's a clip. Bye." And it's like,
It's like I want to know because I like what I heard of
yeah.
Zeno and Ben's Agumon and Tai. I just
I'm
wanted to
not in any
see.
rush to rewatch that show, but I will watch it when the dub comes out.
I didn't fully watch it. I didn't fully watch it, so I only like caught occasional episodes. And it's one of these where I feel like maybe the dub can fix it because
Yeah,
the dub can
the
fix it.
dub
Not
fixed
because
the tri dub fixed every problem. Like the tri dub fixed almost every like weird audio problem with
well, that's
tri.
the thing. Like it's one of these. I'll probably enjoy it more compared to Japanese, but I probably still dislike the writing
Yeah.
because I still despise Try's writing to this day.
What
Um,
else we got in the chat?
let's see. Do you think Power Rangers would have been better if it was on the hub instead of Nickelodeon?
Would have been dead quicker.
Yeah, we that
Like, so the hub was where
uh,
things went to die, not because the network was bad. I think the network was great. It just didn't have the ability to last because Hasbro did
it was a
not know what
paid
they're
well,
doing.
it was a paid channel. It was
Yeah.
one a paid channel, and the hub only lasted for it was like a tsunami for the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, and essentially, because Hasbro was pumping money into it is why it got original shows, but anything that wasn't a Hasbro original died quick.
And mind, the only show that lasted so long was Rescue Bots and Friendships and Magic, and that's because those shows are really profitable.
Yep.
Let's see. Can't help Saban HHF.
Sabella's
Um,
SHF.
oh, Sabel. Oh, that was mine. We got a TFC going along with
I
it.
don't want to talk about the Sabella and Durandal Toei Tokusatsu fan club
I just
special.
saw the poster for
Yeah, I
that. I
saw the
didn't.
poster today too, and I was like, wow, okay.
Because like I actually watched 18 past episode like 8 of Saber.
Yeah.
So I didn't know any
As
of that
someone
stuff.
who
But
enjoyed Saber, I want it to end. Please, my God, just stop.
let's see. Okay, gotta put on you on the spot. Top 10 writer girls.
Oh God.
I joke. I want to joke. Is her 10 writer girl? I was thinking like the thing. Alright,
Yep, I got
question.
this. I got this. I got this.
Alright,
Tackle.
alright, alright.
Tackle.
That's the question. Or do you mean writer girls in terms of just girls
I'm gonna go
writers
with characters
or
and shows. Tackle. Izu. Poppy. I know this is the easy ones.
love cult?
Love. No, I'm gonna go Aguilera. Um. Uh. Uh. Let me just go chronologically in my brain. I'll just pick names.
It's gonna
Junko.
end up being
Junko from V3.
it's gonna
Um.
you're gonna end up sounding like the Zio Grand Zio right watch, like go go I'm gonna Ryuki fight
Yeah, basically,
Blade.
that's what's rolling through my brain right now. Is I'm like, um, uh, God. Now I'm remembering the actress's name, but not the actual character. Agito's
Let's
sister. We're just gonna go with Agito's sister because I can't think right now. Um,
while you think, because see, do you think Kicker from Russian Wonder, do you think Kicker Jones from Aragon is similar to Sochi Hans from Turn A? I have not seen all of Turn A, so I can't
no,
compare.
they're just both characters. Um, we were at 6. I was. Where's my brain at? Same person, but like same actor, different character. Naomi from Deno. Um, I don't remember. The not the 86 female Ixa, but the modern one. She was great. I'm trying to remember names. It's just not working. Natsumi and Koyomi. There's the 10. There's the 10.
Did they ever get to the same level as Rekka or Rekka as in Garo?
Uh,
Rekka or Jabi?
no one ever gets to the level of Garo characters in anything they do. Nobody.
Um, back onto Digimon. Back onto Digimon. What do you expect to get when you us to get our Ghost Game Megas? What do you personally think?
The Digivice is out November 26th.
Yeah, I have because I think we're heading to the fifth. What episode Ghost
Yeah,
Game? What episode comes out? Let's see. What episode
we're on
comes out?
50 this weekend.
So I don't think we're gonna see Gabamon's Mega this episode, but I expect that this month we're gonna get it
We're
this
gonna
month.
get if we follow the way that the you know what? I think we're gonna get it either the week of the 26th or the week after. Because they gave us the dim cards for Angoramon and Jellymon before their champions debuted, so I don't know. And also the dim cards had the ultimates on it. But I think we're gonna get
Mhm.
the megas are happening this month, and it's probably right at the same time the Digivice comes out.
Yeah, because that's what I was theorizing is like we're gonna get them around the time the BE comes out because that's how they're gonna get it.
Yep. Which I should get mine the day it comes out because I got it ordered.
I'd say that man, the past episode of Ghost Game is very body horror friend, body horror happy. I'd say.
Yep.
uh, I am surprised that show could get away with all that stuff going on
The
with it.
writer
For
was like, "Oh, we're not afraid to scare kids because I was scared by Ultra Q as a child, and I think I should pass that energy on to the kids of today. They can handle it."
how do you feel about? Because have you seen that recent interview about why Ghost Game is all episodic
He was
instead of
like, "Oh,
ongoing?
kids don't have the attention spans for long storytelling," and I'm like, "That's not the reason. That's just a deflection. The reason why it's episodic is because everything now is serialized, and for something to stand apart, it has to be episodic."
And that's the thing is like I feel like people my biggest problem with people complaining about that is some people are like, oh, we won't get a good Digimon story against his crosswords. I'm like, come on.
Here's the thing: Digimon, yeah, Digimon's always been serialized. So Ghost Game's being different by not being serialized.
That's the thing I like. That's the thing I like Ghost Game is here episodic because it just get. I think for me it
Mhm.
gives you more feel about the Digimon again. Just
It also allows you to not feel like you have to watch every episode the second it drops. Like if you want to build up episodes, build up episodes. Like you have options. It's not
and
and it
the
also
thing.
won't stretch itself too thin. Like I think with Adventure 2020, that show ran 66 episodes. It ran so long on one serialized plot, and then there was never any character development because they were too busy trying to advance the plot every week.
You
and
mean
that's the
you mean the evolutions? Because then they get their
yeah,
megas. Then they get their ultimates in around the 20s.
yep. And the thing is that that show felt like it was going to be over quick because of the evolutions, and then it suddenly dragged out. And I think that with Ghost Game, because we're in this age where anime is whatever it needs to be. Like some shows are 13, some are 26, some are 50, some are 112. Like
Dude,
it's
the Dragon Quest Adventure Die just ended
at
at episode
100.
100.
Yeah. So the thing is that they're not setting Digimon to you have to be done in a year. They're like, "Oh, this show's popular, keep going." And by being episodic, it means they can actually play with where the ending is.
I mean, I think it really shows how well Ghost Game is going. You know, people as much people like to think it's not, it is. Is the fact that there's no toy line, there's no the card game is not really tying into it like 2020 is. There's no game game tie-in. It's just going fine on its own. We only
Yep.
isn't the only toys just the three plushies and the three little minifigures.
Yeah, and the Vital Bracelet.
In mind, that's already technically part of its own thing.
Yeah,
Is
and then even then they went months without releasing new dem cards, and they're like, "Here's Espimon and Ryudemon." Like
it was really cool to see
months.
Ryudemon Digivolve in one of the episodes.
Yeah. And Espimon has an evolution that we haven't seen, so there's still stuff for them to do.
I want to see what the Peanut Boy turns into.
It's fun. But on that, I think that with the thing is like, people are like, "Oh, is Ghost Game going to last a year?" No, it's going to keep going cuz like, you know, the new Digivice, the new Vital Bracelet B not coming out till this month means the show's still going for a while. It may
Hmm.
hit the 66 mark that Adventure 2020 did. Who knows? I don't know.
And that's the thing, like they're not. One thing I like about Ghost Game is they're not trying to be this big thing. They're definitely planting seeds of things, of course. Like there have been many hints of what
All
Gusagamon is and such
all
like
all
that,
the Black Tailmon stuff is connected for sure.
and all the black like we
And also the
back.
fact that the dad's the actual villain of the show and they don't want to elaborate on
Yeah,
that.
yours dad, so she's gonna be the true
So go
villain.
hang out in the human world accidentally causes the murders of several people.
Yep. That's the thing. I think it's just like the fact is not trying to be this big thing like Adventure 2020 was. It just allows the show to be itself.
Hmm.
When a good old glue eating dinosaur eating his chocolate.
Exactly.
I mean, any show with Gamamon is automatically gonna be a 10 for me. So that's all good.
It's a fun show and it's like a great little 25 minutes of my week.
Yeah, and to see Kyo always terrified and get killed, try to almost get killed every episode. Is
Exactly.
let's see. Back to more questions. Comrade 64. I don't know what the Power Rider trademark was. Here's the thing. Company would just make trademarks and never do anything with them. That's the thing. And some people
Yep.
I feel like don't realize. I feel like many people really think the Power Rider trademark was meant to be something, and I think it was just Saban saying maybe kind of thing. They'll
Yeah.
just make the
It
trademark.
was like if we want to do this, let's have the trademark now.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Psycho's top 10 Sentai girls now.
All right, you're just gonna get their Sentai name designations because my brain cannot be bothered to remember everything. Pink Flash, Blue Dolphin, Kirika, um, Five Yellow, Jet Do Die, Ninja White. Just going in order in my brain. O Ranger. What was after O Ranger? Car Ranger.
Gar Ranger.
Pink Racer. No, sorry, Yellow Racer. Sorry, Pink Racer. Yellow's taking that one. Mega
What? Why
Pink.
talk? Why talk about Signal Man is the true best character in the show.
Well, he is, but we're doing the girls. Um, and I'm not picking Signal Man's wife because she's taken. Um, Mega Ginga. Go Go 5. Time Ranger.
Super
I didn't watch Time.
Sentai.
I didn't watch Time Ranger. Gal White. Deca Yellow. This is funny. It's top 10, but yeah, I'm just going in order, so that means the back half of Sentai is not getting covered. Patron Sango. There, I'm just jumping ahead. They're
Uh,
10.
let's see. Punching. What
Oh god, I just saw top 10 PR girls into the chat.
see, I'm hoping. Let's see. I'm hoping with both Black Ranger actors and both Yo one sub. I hope that will give us live action Omega Ranger for P. No, I don't think they're gonna do the Omega Rangers for the 30th anniversary special. They just
I
can't fit in.
there's a likelihood that Adam and Aisha end up turning into Deca Master and Deca Gold than there is them being the Omega Rangers.
I mean, I personally want to see the Deca Ranger to be. I want to
Yeah,
see like,
yeah, yeah. Deca Ranger and Deca Gold.
yeah, people
That's
talk
who they
about the
should be.
Omega. People talk about the Omega Rangers or the Sora Rangers. I want Deca Ranger. Deca Ranger is like the best suit from the comics.
Yes, and he wasn't even in a comic. He was in a holiday
Yeah, yeah,
greeting card.
he was not even in the comic, right? He was it
Holiday
just Jason?
greeting card.
Yeah, that suit is so good just to be just for only that one appearance.
Let Adam turn into that. Let Aisha be Deca Gold. Boom.
Let's see. Russian Wonder. What do you want to do with Ryder in the U.S. and how? In terms of what, Mark? I guess like how do you want Ryder to be in the West?
Here's what they need to do. They need to decide if they want to be releasing Rider in the West. My same advice to Toei is my advice to DC. With DC, are you going to use Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck as your Superman and Batman or not? Tell us one way or another. Like
Mm-hmm.
no in between. Tell us one way or another. Toei, do you want Kamen Rider to be successful in the West? Yes or no? Because they're
Yeah.
wishy washy on everything.
It's not
They're
like Subaraya where it's like, here's Ultraman.
Subaru is like, here's Ultraman on YouTube. Watch it weekly, enjoy it, have
Here's
fun.
the DVD. Here's our Blu-rays and DVDs
Yeah,
by Mill Creek.
and there's all kinds of stuff happening. They're making a push. Toei is wanting other people to push it, but because they're not going, oh, Shout, you're our partner. Oh, Media Blasters, you're our partner. Whatever. They're not just picking one company and sticking to it. So their plan's just all over the place. They're just like, yeah, just whatever. And then like the whole thing with Black Sun, that was a disaster. The fact that you could not go onto the Amazon Prime app, search Kamen Rider Black Sun, and find it is ridiculous. And I
And
don't
they
know whose
finally
fault
fixed
it
it now,
was.
thankfully. They fixed it now, thankfully. But for the first when it came out,
48
you couldn't find
hours.
it.
For 48 hours, you couldn't actually find the show unless you had the link. That was ridiculous. So yeah, no, I'm like, that's the thing is that if Kamen Rider wants to be in the West, cool, try it. And Bandai's doing a great job.
Put effort into it.
Bandai's putting in effort. They're giving us more stuff every day. Like
Is,
they're
isn't
offering
all
more
the
product.
isn't all the Geetsu coming in the West just
Yep.
months later?
Every single thing in Geats is coming. We're starting to get, Shadow Moon. Kamen Rider Shadow Moon's on Premier Bandai US. Awesome. The thing is that, Bandai's putting an effort in, Toei is not. If Toei was going to be together with Bandai in their plan, then they needed to be having Geats air while Bandai's bringing all the toys over. But because they're not on the same page. Bandai's like, there's a market, let's go for it. Toei's like, maybe there's a market. We need to be convinced that there's a market. Is there a market? Let's find out. Like, it's not like we've been telling them for so many years that there's a market, not by showing them with Blu-ray sales, not by showing them with streaming numbers. Like, they know there is a market. They just don't want to pursue it, and that's the problem.
Hmm. It's like
Also, Russian
like
Wanderer, that's your rant video. You got it right now.
like if your toy's like, here's a little, it's like the real's like, here, maybe we'll do it. Here's like a taste, and then
Yep.
that's it. They're stuck in that. Here's a little taste. They're not like, they're not like set stones. Let's do this. Let's see. Comics from wearing when Ghost King will get a dub if Reboot 2020 comes out. That's pretty much your answer.
Who
Uh,
knows? I think the reason we haven't seen that Digimon Adventure reboot dub is just because they don't have a network. I think they wanted a network deal or a streaming deal, and they haven't signed one.
I think it was Cartoon Network Italy has
India,
got a deal with that or something like that.
yeah, India. So
India, there you go.
who knows what it is?
Let's see. Just had a crisis for DC in the movie, but for Kamen Rider, I really don't know. Someone who's working the streaming, someone who's working in streaming, the search results with Black Swan 1% on Amazon. Probably some weirdness with the multi-regional availability.
It is, but it also isn't because for Amazon not have it solved, that's okay. That's Amazon, right? for Toei to not even actually tell us that the show was coming over, to not actually tell us
Because
what
it
day
wasn't
it was coming
clear. It
out.
wasn't clear at all. It was
They made
international,
a
right?
post saying that it was going to be available in 200 regions worldwide. They did not specify when, they did not specify how, and the fact that and this is another thing that I've been saying on Twitter as well, is that Toei needs, if they actually care about bringing Kamen Rider over, Toei needs Ultraman Connection level stuff, like an actual portal website and a team who is dedicated to announcing stuff. Because Ultraman Connection, if we had to set up like Ultraman Connection for Kamen Rider, when that Black Sun didn't show up, first of all, we would have had posts telling us it's coming, it's 10 episodes, it's dropping all at once. We knew none of that, and that was on the Japanese side too. Toei did not announce that it was all coming in one
Yeah, I
batch.
thought it was gonna be weekly. I thought it was
We
gonna be
thought it was going
weekly.
to be weekly because Amazon's was weekly. We did not know it was coming in one batch. We did not know what time it was coming. We did not know how many episodes it was. They didn't tell us any of this. They just dropped the show. And then Westwise official English releases, there was no official English announcement on any of this.
And the closest you got was them uploading the trailer and Toei Tokusatsu
Yep.
World, and
And
that's
that's
it.
where it said available globally, but did not put a date, did not put anything. There was no information. And so that was a problem. And the thing is, there wasn't a social media team that was like, hey, this is coming. 3 more days, 4 more days. Like when Ultraman Regulos gets any news, Ultraman Connection has a post about it. And it's like, here's the new cast members, here's the new character profiles. The second that info drops in Japan, we have an English version of it on the site. Gundam info used to be like this, but it's not anymore because they've not been keeping it up to date. But you need, if you're going to try to push a Japanese brand in the West, you need a portal site that can answer everybody's immediate questions immediately. Like a social
We
media
need,
page and a website that you can just have people go to. It's like,
we
what's Ultraman? Send them to Ultraman Connection. What's Kamen Rider? Oh, I don't know. Start reading Wikipedia.
we need a Sean Nichols pretty much for
Or more specifically, a Starlight Runner.
yeah, Sally
Like an
Runner.
actual media company whose business is marketing. Because Team Rider is just a
They're,
bluefin, or not bluefin, a
they're
Bandai
just
Namco
toys.
group.
They're
They're
just
just
toys.
toys, and they are terrible at marketing. And I don't mean this to be mean to them, but the whole Team Rider thing was a disaster. Like because in the beginning they were really engaging, but now because of the Bandai Namco merger, they're all doing more jobs. Nobody has time to do it because they're not a dedicated staff. They're just people that happen to be on the Bandai Namco America team that happens to be doing promotion for shows. But they don't get told anything about the shows. They don't know anything about that stuff. And if they do, they're not allowed to talk about it because it's not their company.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much their job. This is Toei's and you have Toei. Their job just toys, not anything
Yep.
with the show. Just
They're
toys.
just toys. And they'll sometimes hear about show stuff, but that's about it. And that's the problem because I think that,
And even with that clearance, usually probably like in the grapevine they hear about it. Not
yeah.
like they don't have a meeting saying, "All right, here's Black Sun's coming out this." No, they don't get like a meeting like that. They would just get like here from the grapevine.
Also, the team Kamen Rider social media accounts are like dead. Like
Yep.
they don't do, like Bandai Namco Collectibles will announce stuff on that Twitter than they will on Team Rider. Like it's just not a priority anymore.
Team Rider is really at most just the brand for the Rider toys now.
Yeah.
Not really a
It's not
division
even hardly a
anymore.
brand. It's just it's the thing that they did to get it started, and that was about it. It's Starlight Runner with the way they're marketing Ultraman is they're actually doing a marketing campaign. They're actually pushing. They're reaching for engagement. They're setting up more events. They're trying to make it more accessible because that's their job.
They have a subscribe letter. You get email right away
Yep,
when something happens.
exactly. And that's because they're a marketing company, not people that happen to already work at Bandai having to do additional jobs.
All right, so let's see. Reading from the chat. Yeah, let's see. I feel Team Rider has their own issues. Many, from what I'm seeing, not promoting what Discotheque or Media Blast are doing, though that could change. Again, they're not. They.
That's just
That's not
because
their
that's just
job.
because they're stuck without it. I mean, we don't even know what Media Blasters is doing because they haven't said anything in a while. But they also went to like 12 conventions this year, so they're busy because they're. For those that know, Shout's a big company. Discotheque's a smaller company. Media Blasters is a tiny company.
Hmm.
Like their Twitter accounts run by one person who owns the company. Like they're tiny. And so when they go to conventions, that's a whole big ordeal, and they don't have time
They're
to work on their
they're
releases.
super. yeah, underground. I mean, they're like the one that release all the hentai
Yeah,
DVDs.
exactly. Like, they had to make their own separate hentai website when Right Stuf stopped allowing 18 plus content to be sold. So,
Let's see. Pirates Masquerade actually gave Mill Creek the license to Comrade Double Onwards. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think he's gonna do that because their competition is being released right now. I
Mill
won't
Creek
just.
is partnered with Super Riot, and Toei's not gonna do anything with them because that would be like Warner Brothers partnering with or Disney partnering with Studio Distribution Services to release their Blu-rays. It's like that was a company. The Studio Distribution Service is made by Warner Brothers and Universal. Disney's not going to touch that because they're like, that's our competition. We're not going to work with them. And so the thing is that like because Ultraman got to Mill Creek first, they get full stock there. Like Toei's not going to send anything to Mill Creek, or Mill Creek's not going to ask because they're too busy with Ultraman anyways.
Yeah, that. Yeah, so like that's the thing. It's like, you know, well, Black Sun. Like that's the issue with Black Sun. I think is a perfect. It's a great show, for like that binge audience. It's just they're not. There's no promotion for it at all.
Zero. I
For
mean,
because
the promotion for Futo PI only happened because Crunchyroll decided to promote it.
Yeah, that's the thing. At least with the PI, they're for the PI, they're at least baking on the people who love the action anime, and that was the action like Simple Gear or other stuff like that, not shonen. They're basically, they're looking, like they're basically marketing it to, people who like the wacky super robot action style stuff. Black Sun has like no like that's the problem I notice with. I think the problem with Kamen Rider is if you're not in the fan base, then you're not marketing any writer if you're not in part of the fan base.
It's the
Even
same thing. It's the same issue that I brought up when Team Writer started. And I asked them this directly, and they could not give me an answer. I said, "Is there a plan to expand the reach of Kamen Rider stuff beyond the already existing fandom?" And they didn't have an answer for me. They never answered that question. I asked them direct, like, because there was one time I was like, "Man, it'd be great to like ask team writers some questions and talk about like what to do for Kamen Rider." And my major question like was, what is the plan to expand beyond the currently existing fan base? And they did not have an answer. They never responded to me. And I think it's the whole problem with Rider is that so far it's just expanding its accessibility to the people that already know it exists. I know
oh
a
yeah,
bunch of people that turned off Futo PI when they hinged into double. There was a bunch of people that were watching because it was on the my anime list comments when I was adding the show to my list. I was seeing all these comments. They're like, "This was great until they turned into the dumb superhero stuff," and that was my whole point on Twitter when people jumped on me when I was like, maybe they should put the Kamen Rider name on this because you know it may mislead people to think it's a different type of show than being a Kamen
that's
Rider
the thing. I
show.
remember I was complaining when the first trailer for Play came out with the fact that Double was only the end of the trailer. Like, why hide the Kamen Rider part of it? Because I thought Free Play. I hadn't read the manga, so I thought it was
Yeah.
mostly just the detective stuff. No, the writer stuff is really relevant in for the PI.
After episode 3, like after they transform episode 2, they transform in every episode after.
Hmm.
And there was no point in hiding double the way they did. And I think it was actually like maybe that worked in Japan, but you can't use the same marketing tactics in Japan versus the US because yeah, there was a bunch of people that jumped out as soon as they transformed into double.
Some people who are big fan of detective stuff are not gonna be big fan of the superhero aspect.
Because some people are sick of superhero stuff. Like that is absolutely a thing. While superheroes are still popular, like and still will be, there are people that don't like superhero stuff or are tired of seeing it. And so, there was people like, "Oh, cool, quirky
Especially
detective
in the
anime."
anime scene. If if you're not in like I said, the action. A lot of people think like action anime are super big. Not really. Like
Nope.
unless you are shonen series. If you're a shonen series, yeah, a shonen series definitely. But if you're not like part of a shonen series or based on a manga or light novel, you're not gonna get attention. Like the action anime scene like genre is a very niche
Very
genre.
niche.
Surprisingly enough,
Yeah, and the thing
like.
is that like, and the thing too with anime, it's still a niche because like you have an anime like Cyberpunk Edge Runners was like the most viewed anime on Netflix. Didn't even break into the top 20 of the actual overall Netflix, right?
Mhm.
That's the kind of thing that we deal with. And so the thing is, yeah, an anime can help boost your your brand's appeal and your audience. Like it's worked for Ultraman, it worked for Garo until they fumbled the ball on ever following that up, and it worked for Gridman. Like because of what it was, but it's still all
Grid
those appeal to a niche audience.
like Gridman, you're getting what you're getting your mecha superhero
Yeah,
action
I
figure.
just noticed because Smythe the Crow said how many people dropped out of Gridman for that reason. I don't think anybody. I think they wouldn't have never started. Because
Yeah,
Gridman was very upfront with its
yeah, like
marketing.
with Gridman, if we're talking about like people who seriously want to watch it, you're getting everything you need. Like if
Mhm.
you had your mechs, you had your kaiju, you had your waifu kind of characters like what Kane and Rika saying with Diamond and saying in discuss with Diamond. You're getting that from the start. You're
Yeah,
not getting
first
you're,
e
you're get,
first episode, but also all the trailers and marketing. But yeah, the first episode made it clear. Doubles Futopi's first episode did not make it clear what kind of show it was.
you
Um,
got your detective story, you got your protagonist, you got your waifu character with Tokime, you got your yeah, but no hints of
because
the
the only
only
thing they
you know
showed Kamen Rider Double in the opening, right, like the begins night thing.
yeah.
But that it was so quick and so vague that like maybe people would have glossed over it. But it was episode 2 when they actually transformed that people were like, "What's this Power Ranger shit?" and then dumped it. And that's the thing. Anime fans are fickle in the West. They will drop a show at the
Power
second they
scaling.
can.
I saw like anime who didn't know Kamen Rider was a thing. Like people complain about the power scaling because anime fans love power scaling,
Hmm.
and Kamen Rider is not really about power scaling at all.
Nope. Even their one show where they had power level numbers, it didn't even count. The
Yep.
build,
So
yeah,
like I see, so like you can't. I see people complain about yeah, like that's thing like power scaling. That's the thing. Like like people care about the anime fans really care about the power scaling, and so see double do all these crazy shit. It's like might be it'll be jarring to them. And such like that.
yeah. And I think that's just generally what I think Fudo PI's issue was and why it got a lot of attention on Twitter, but did it actually result in viewership that was lengthy? Because I saw the discussion about it really heavy when the first couple episodes dropped, and then it petered out.
I just say PvP was a success for its field. It's definitely like that's the thing with
Yeah,
anime. Like that's the thing with anime. There's a success if there's a success in their field, you're good.
I
Like
think it did about as good as the Garo animes did.
and that's all they need really. I think when it
Yeah.
comes to
But I
that's the
don't
thing.
know if it I don't know if it got people into Kamen Rider. There's probably amount of people that got into Kamen Rider because of Futo PI, but it wasn't the huge push that I think Toei was banking on it being.
It's not like Gridman where people who fell in love with SS Gridman went back to watch the original Hyper Agent
And then they
series.
also a lot of people got into Ultraman because the Ultraman anime dropped right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the thing with. I think the problem is I think Kamen Rider and Power Rangers and Power Rangers Sentai Kamen are more weirdly enough harder to sell to people compared to Ultraman. Ultraman is like you like kaiju. There you go. Like
Yeah,
that's a very
Ultraman's piggybacking off the American obsession with giant monsters,
mm-hmm.
which has been a thing for decades, right? Ever since Godzilla. Ultraman can kind of piggyback off of that, but I think the thing is that when you look at Kamen Rider, or let's look at like Sentai, right? Sentai gets associated with Power Rangers. Power Rangers gets associated as a kiddie brand because it's never
I
tried to
just
be
want to
anything
say this.
different.
I some people getting tired of like, how dare you call Sentai Power Rangers? They are.
They
I'm
are.
sorry, they are. You
You
stop
put
denying
five
it.
colored spandex people into a show, it's a Sentai, it's a Power Rangers. It's just how it
Mm-hmm.
is. So the thing is that people associate Power Rangers being kiddie because it's never tried to be anything different. So Sentai's out. Like it's never going to appeal to anybody except for Power Rangers fans at this point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking in broad senses. Like anyone's going to be like, "Oh, well, I no." We're talking broad, okay? Not specific cases. We're talking in broad sense. Kamen Rider. What does Kamen Rider have that Marvel doesn't?
I real honest because that's the thing. I can't really because like I wouldn't even say transform like Henshin hero transform,
Iron
but
Man,
like Iron
Ant
Man
Man,
suits has a suit up sequence.
Thor has suit up sequences. Thor does henshins, right? Thor raises his hammer and he gets a new costume. Um, oh, interesting villains. All right, Hela, Ego, Vulture. Like the thing is that Kamen Rider being the ground level hero type, there's not much to distinguish it to say, look what it does better than Marvel. Yeah, we can get into the technical aspects. Look, Kamen Rider does more physical, practical, stunt work. Yeah, that's what it is. But the thing is that Kamen Rider is essentially like Japanese Marvel in some ways. So if it's not seen as Power Rangers, it's seen as not as cool as Marvel because it's not as ingrained in people.
I also want to point out, I think some people really tried to make Ryder bigger than it is, like, or trying to make this like the best thing ever, or like
Yeah,
something like that.
it's not even like Toei's number one brand. It's not even close.
I like, because like I remember, I remember when She-Hulk was airing that episode, was the episode 3 with the twerking ending.
Yes.
I remember someone trying to do a stupid post of like comparing Western hero superhero versus Japanese superhero like
May
geeks.
I remind you that like Vice did a whole rap for an episode? It's
I hate when people try to make Ryder just like the coolest thing ever. It's so much better than Marvel, and like it's the same thing.
they're the same thing. They both target like Ryder wants to cast a wide net to sell merchandise. Marvel casts a wide net to sell tickets and merchandise. They both go for the mass appeal with occasionally doing something subversive. Hence, Black Sun for Kamen Rider is just it's a subversive work that's not going to appeal to the wide audience, right? It doesn't appeal to the same audience as the main show, but it's also this little thing that's off on streaming. Just like with Marvel, they did like Werewolf by Night, which is not a mass appeal thing. It's just a little side subversive thing they did that was kind of fun
I
and
mean,
different.
seeing like the behind the scenes, that's the I remember one of the quotes was like, I don't want to make this, I don't want to care about the
Yeah,
continuity of the Marvel Cinematic. I just want to make a cool horror short
they're like, we took a
special.
chance to make a special about a werewolf and him trying to save his giant plant monster friend. And the thing is that I think that you get so like the thing is like for the most part, the general Marvel and the general Kamen Rider are trying to appeal as many people as possible. And then there's some like little side things that are great. So again, what does Kamen Rider bring that Marvel doesn't? And that's the thing that Toei needs to work on. The other thing is that, and then to get to my further point, what other does Marvel have a giant kaiju sized hero? No, they have Giant Man, but he never gets that big, and if he does,
And
he's just
he doesn't
one
really
guy.
fight, like he doesn't fight kaiju. Like he doesn't
Yeah,
really fight kaiju at all.
he doesn't. And the thing is I mean, that's like he punched that one giant Thanos ship in Endgame. That was the closest he got. But
There are not saying there's no kaiju characters in
yeah,
Marvel. No, there is. There's just beast Monster Island and such like that. There are,
but the
but
idea
like
is that Ultraman as a superhero property does stuff that Marvel and DC doesn't. So it has an appeal because it feels fresher by having the giant size hero fight the giant size kaiju in a city and going with, just the in general, like having like the space sort of sci-fi elements. That is doing stuff that Marvel and DC aren't. It has
there,
its own space.
there's a reason why Western media, like there's a reason why you'll see more Ultraman references than Kamen Rider references. Like
It
the biggest
also
example,
helps that it was ingrained in society because of the early dubs.
like like think of like example, like you got like Way Big from Ben 10. He is just a giant Ultraman reference.
And then
You're
you
not
have
gonna.
things like Pacific Rim, which was doing like a bunch of Ultraman references.
Mm-hmm.
And adding to that, like my mom watched Ultraman when she was a kid. So when I started getting to Ultraman, she knew what it was like already. And I think that that's something that shouldn't be discredited. And I think that's what's helped Ultraman's global expansion is because Subarai's tried it in the past. And also, it has a reason to exist separate from what we have. And that is a key example is how got Marvel has Ultraman comics because they know nothing else they have could do what Ultraman can. Whereas Kamen Rider comics are being done by a publisher that's just starting up because they need something.
And like with Ultraman, we had giant characters before. It's not like usually in those sense, those characters grow giant, not a alien being fuses with a human
Yeah,
host scenario. You don't get that at all. And
exactly. And so it's unique. It stands apart. Whereas Kamen Rider gets blended in because of just how it is.
I mean, it really shows how much Ultraman is getting bigger. Because didn't the McFarlane figure for Ultraman have to be called like Superman Earth?
Superman of Earth
Earth,
3.
yeah, because they can't use that name because.
Yep, because Subaraya trademarked it for toys again.
hmm I mean, that shows the respect that Ultraman has.
And I think that when it comes down to it, this is why Ultraman's succeeding better is not only because it's accessible and easily accessible globally, but it's also because it has a unique reason to exist in the current superhero landscape, whereas Rider doesn't. And Toei isn't trying hard enough to get Rider to be different. I think Geats would be a great show to be distributing worldwide because it is different.
You
Doing
know,
the
because it
doing the
you need to.
survival battle thing is not something Marvel or DC are doing.
I mean, what's the best way to describe Gates and so on? This say Squid Game, but they can turn to superheroes. Is
Yep.
the
And
best
what
way you
was
can
Squid
describe it.
Game? A Korean drama that was the #1 Netflix show. So why is Toei not pushing Geats? This was their best chance, and I don't know if they're going to get a better chance than this, and they may have blown it by just not releasing the show over here right away. They should have simulcast it. They should have cut TV Isashi a check and just gotten this thing out because this was the best chance I think we had.
Team up with Crunchyroll or Amazon or just up on
YouTube,
YouTube like
yeah,
Subaraya.
because
Any of them.
the toys are coming over, so Bandai's cool with it. They could have just cut TV Asashi a check, and that would have boosted Rider. Because like right now, I think that Geats, Black Sun, and Fudo PI are all fantastic shows. And we
Hmm.
got to have so with Fudo PI and Black Sun airing at the same time as Geats, it's been great. But with Geats, you still have to get fan subs. Imagine if other people could experience Geats as it airs weekly. It could really blow up, I think. But they're
Hmm.
missing out on that. And the thing is, even if they, as soon as Geats is over, they license it, it's not going to have the same impact as it would have weekly.
Because with these, you get the appeal of Squid Game, the appeal of superheroes, the appeal of video games, because it's
Yep.
practically more of a video game series than XA, weirdly enough. Like with the whole battle royale aspect, you can appeal. He has much more appeal to compared to other writer shows. How do you really appeal like X8 or Saber or Revice? Essentially, how do you how do you advertise Revice in the West well as his own thing?
It's really hard, and that's why I think it's just good. And the thing is, Toei's trying to make Rider compete with Ultraman, and I don't think it ever can. And it's lost. It's had too many chances to try to compete with Ultraman, and it's lost all its chances. It's just
Hmm.
running out of steam, and it's sad. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rider just ends up being niche. It could have been big, but I think they've missed their chance.
Hmm. And it was a shame because it's a shame especially because I Gates is all three of the shows this year are great.
Yep,
It
and the fact we're not getting all of
this
them easily accessible is a shame because they
it's a
should have
shame,
had it.
because I've been very out of writer for so long, and now it's thanks to the PI and Black Sun and Keats, I'm now back
Oh, I
into.
sleepwalked through Saber and Revice. I sleepwalked through those shows, and now I'm like super engaged where I'm watching everything as quick as I can, except for Black Sun because Bayonetta exists, and I keep spending time doing that.
All right,
What do we got
so
in the chat?
all right,
We've
so
been
yeah,
doing a lot of Common talk. If anyone's got anything to add, that would be always
all
good.
right, so let's see, Pyrus Magnus thoughts on Shout not streaming as of right now. Five-man ABBA.
That's E1 contracts. I don't know. That's just how it is. They also may be trying to make the sales work. Um, I will say I don't think we're going to be getting another Sentai release right away if we do. There was, I think, Kaiju no Kami mentioned this, and Russian Wanderer sent it to me that the production numbers imply that Five Man and Abba Ranger were licensed in 2019 and 2020.
Let's see,
And
LPH.
we'll look into
Power
that
Rangers
later.
is for kids, and yet most kids shows in the last 10 years more mature storylines and parents the same
Yep,
old story themes. Yep.
yep. Even the weakest Marvel animated shows for kids have been smarter and more mature than Power Rangers has.
I have problems with Avengers Assemble and such like that, but like they're trying. I
I'd
can
rather watch
see
that than Power Rangers, to be honest. And I like Power
because it was.
Rangers. If Power Rangers has lost my interest when I've been watching it my entire life, that's a sign that the show does need fundamental
Have
change.
you seen? Have you seen the last season? Have you seen season 3 of Masters Netflix yet?
I keep forgetting to watch it.
Watch is really good, but Masters Netflix. I think like that shows a five-man team also, and that's
Yep.
doing more with
That
its
show is a
characters.
Power
And
Rangers show in the sense that five teams transform, fight together, defeat villains, and it's better written and better handled. I mean, Star Trek Prodigy is a kids show, but yet it's like one of the best Star Trek shows. You can make a
Yeah,
good kids show. You just got to put the effort
Ninja
into
I
it.
mean, I've been joking called Ninjago pretty much the best Power Rangers show that's not Power Rangers because it's same
Hmm.
thing,
Yeah.
multicolor characters. Yeah, but that show has like deep character stories and such like that.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Let's see. Uh, a few people can criticize anything so long as they don't go on Asahi a shine trade on woke agendas SJW Center because those are arguments are based on reality. I mean, look at any. You want to see bad reviews? Just look at any review for She-Hulk.
Yeah. No. Anytime someone throws out woke
Woke.
agenda or SJW, I just instantly ignore it. Like even if it's a joke, I get tired of that. But like the thing is that like the most of the media you get nowadays is actually played a lot safer than the media you had as a kid. You just didn't have the eye to look for the content within it. Like the
Mhm.
fact that people are like watching Star Wars Andor and going, "What? The Empire is a reflection of like, you know, uh, how fascism can out of a democracy. How that's never been in Star Wars before. Look at this propaganda they put. No, it's always been there. There literally
Imagine
is a line in the prequel trilogy. This is how liberty dies with thunderous applause. Like the Empire is supposed to be the United States of America if it lost its democracy.
it's the same thing when
That was
people say
George Lucas's intention back in 1979 because it just was
same.
after post Vietnam era he wrote that.
It's the same thing with Black Sun, where it's like, I don't want my what's this political stuff in my comedy show. Why are you talking about racism? That's never been a
Shocker
thing.
is Nazis.
Jeez.
Kamen
How
Rider
the
has had a strong political message that's been buried under the fact it was a kid show, and Black Sun didn't have to be a kid show.
hmm
Anyways, that's my thoughts on that.
let's see. Psychos, at least we still have Sentai DVDs for now. Again, we don't
I
know
still
anything.
don't feel like buying Abba Ranger. I'm going to be real. That though, the nightmare I went through for the entire month of trying to get my 5-man set did not make me want to order from Shout again for Abba Ranger, even though I have to at some point.
Comment 64. Just imagine if Marvel got the license that Kamen Rider. Would you think they would do a good job?
If they did a
Do you
Marvel
mean
comic,
is it comics or show? Because that's the
because
what's the answer
Marvel
for
wouldn't do
for
it if it
this?
was a show, because they're only going to adapt their own stuff. But if they did a Marvel comic like they've been doing the Ultraman comics, I think it could work. But you're going to have to go with a lot of changes to Kamen Rider.
Let's see. Psychos. We don't know on the ninth, the day after Fireman come out. Bob Ranger got announced, so we know then.
Oh, that's right. Abba
Uh,
Ranger's not technically out until next week.
oh God. Kamen Rider 64. Thoughts on the Bayonetta controversy with Bayonetta's original voice actress Helen Taylor.
I can sum this up pretty good. First of all, voice actors are horribly
Oh,
underpaid in the
voice
video.
act. All right, at the end, the
Let me state the three facts. One, voice actors are horribly underpaid in the video game industry and deserve better.
yep, that's
Two,
the thing. To get.
Hideki Kamiya sucks. He's always been a crappy person. He just viewed it as, oh look, I'm a jokester. No, he's always been an ass.
Mhm.
Three, Platinum Games as a company has been collapsing ever since it's been purchased by Tencent, and the fact the game turned out as good as it did is actually kind of a miracle.
Yeah, that's
In relation to what happened, I think that I actually have a theory, and I want to put this out there because I don't know any of this for sure. But from all the information we gathered, I think what ended up happening was that Helena Taylor felt she was getting underpaid with the original offer because of how it's been 7 years between games. It's been a long time. The character's been in Smash Brothers. The sales have gone up with the re-releases. That as an actor, because this is a thing in acting, not in voice acting, not in the Japanese market, but in Western acting, as your franchise goes along, you should get more pay each time. Okay, so for example, Chris Hemsworth got paid way more money for Thor Love and Thunder than he did for Thor because he was the one that made the character. The character's been popular. They continued it forward. The studio makes money. They give more money to the actor. That's how it works in the West. In Japan, they give you an offer. You say yes or no, and then they move on to the next person. So the
mhm.
thing is that there's a bit of discrepancy between Japanese companies and English voice actors for Japanese games where they're not handled by a middleman like an American company, like Nintendo of America would handle things for that. With Platinum, they contacted her directly, like they had in the past. They said, "Here's your offer," and she said no. They moved on. That's why the story was that she had 11 months of silence, and they offered her a cameo later. That was why, because they moved on because the Japanese talent agencies and the industry there They give you an offer, you say yes or no. If you say no, there's no negotiating. It's over. And so her mistake was, first of all, not realizing how the Japanese companies work and no one giving her that advice. Second mistake was, of course, falsifying the story and making it sound way worse than it actually was. And the third mistake was calling for a boycott and calling out names of other actors, because that is just done in poor
That
taste. Boycotts never work, and it just ended up being a whole big thing. And then on top of that, when she was like, "Oh, boycott the game and support charity," I thought that's a great idea, until she
then
started
when
putting her list of charities, having an anti-abortion charity and several others that were questionable, and I was like, "No, you
yeah,
don't get to have this anymore." I understood the situation. Okay, yeah, she lied about the situation to blow it up on social media. Guess what? People do that all the freaking time. Like, that's not as big of a problem. My problem is that, her counter to the report, saying, basically calling, the report came out that this is what happened, and she said, this is what happened. I falsified the story. That threw off, all the sympathy. And then as soon as she started, like, putting out what charity she was in, that threw out all the other sympathy. And then she also made a tweet when that first report had come out that, like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm not ever going to come back to this franchise. I'm just going to focus on theater work." Then why did you try to blow this up on Twitter?
yeah, yeah. So I
That
would
is
say
my major problem outside of her poor charity choices, is that she doesn't even care to come back. That blowing this up was not, um this was not gonna, like, bring her back to the franchise. So why did you do it? That's
so
my question.
here's the thing. So I always been I don't I say silent or something because I always day one when I saw her videos I was very suspicious about it. One, I really hated the kind of gatekeeping role thing. One, because I felt that it's such. Like, I think no matter, I think you should respect any actor to take out the role. I know the role you made the role, but other actors should be allowed to to do their own take on the role. And the fact she threw Jennifer Taylor, Jennifer
And
Hale,
Hale.
I was going to too, Jennifer Hale on the under the bus practically, which I really rubbed me the wrong way.
The
But
the
the
thing
thing,
that also confused me is that Jennifer Hale and Helena Taylor are both union actors.
yeah, that was the big thing. I
And
was
that I
like,
was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, my thought was Platinum wanted Helena Taylor gone for some reason, because she
that
was
was
asking for too much. Because she never said what her counteroffer was. She just said what they offered her. And
yeah,
that was when my brain was going, "There's something else here."
that was my biggest eyebrow rating because this is Bayonetta has always been union game produced game. You know, we got Yuri Lono, Greg Delisle, all that's like those big, big actors that probably have big paychecks. And same with Jennifer Hale, she's a big actress. I knew something was like that. This can't be how you should pay
And then
because
especially when it was Steve Bloom and Sean Chiplock and, like, one other actor had stepped up for Hale, and said Hale was the one that organized the video game voice actor strike. She would not be stealing a job from an
hmm
actor. Like, that one, I was like, "Oh, okay, there is definitely more to this."
yeah, I knew I've been studying and learning about the voice actors in the industry,
I mean, the
and
best
I
part
knew
about this is
something.
that we've had more voice actors talking about pay disputes.
It was first the Crunchyroll Mob Psycho controversy
Yeah,
with just a meeting. Then this, again, at the end of the day, voice actors should get paid. Paid. That's the big thing. I really hope this is taken away from this. Is we need to get our voice actors, especially dubbing and voice video game voice actors, need to be definitely treated much better.
absolutely.
Better. It's such.
Props to Star Trek, by the way. The voice actors for Lower Decks and Prodigy, while they may not get paid the same as live action actors in their shows, they get full credits in the opening credits of the shows. They're treated at the same level as the live action Star Trek actors do, and
That's
their
that's
animation studios are both unionized. And I got to give Star Trek credit for doing it's the only major franchise doing that.
that's the thing. That's the major thing. That's actors cared about getting credited because that can add to the resume, so
Yep.
people other companies can And I was saying on this say this. I think essentially I remember this came up when Earthspark was voice cast was announced. I think a lot of people misunderstand what non-union and union voice acting means. So many people misinterpret, which really miffed me off because I see people. I remember someone when Earth Spark's voice cast got revealed. So they were like, "Oh man, yeah, great! It's Union. We're finally gonna get great voice acting again in Transformers." And like, that's not how it works.
No, what the unions are in entertainment, especially in film production of any kind, animated or live action, the unions are just there to assure that the talent gets what they're paid. So, for example, if you're working non-union in Hollywood, you have to take whatever pay rate they give you. But if you're a union member, you can say, no, this is the union pay rate for the position I'm doing, and the union will back me up on this. You have to pay me this much.
There's
And
also
you
health.
have to give me this amount of breaks. You have to give me
Mhm,
this. There's a list of things for each union, depending on which job it is, that says you have to give me this because I am part of this union. It's not a it's not a indicator of quality, but it is an indicator that a production is willing to follow the rules and play well with the people they're employing. This is why a lot of non-union productions for live action stuff ends up becoming dangerous because you don't have the union safety rules in place. And with voice actors, you sometimes get voice actors that come in, they don't get paid as well because they're not a union. There's no union backing them to get their paycheck.
And with some actors, they just prefer working on Union, which is that's up to them. It's
Yeah,
all terms of lifestyle. Just it all depends on their lifestyle. Some actors rather just say non-union because that's how that's how they find
it allows them to
because.
be free to do whatever they want, and they don't have to
Hmm.
make sure that the production's a union production. They can just get whatever job they want, and that works for some people.
Yeah, that works
For
for some people.
others,
That work.
they want the other thing too with union stuff. I know this for film crew. You don't get health insurance, dental insurance, vision coverage, any insurance that
Hmm.
you would get through an employer. You can't get in film production because each film production is a separate LLC, so a separate company. So you need the union to give you your health benefits, so that you can keep working. And that is the main reason why crew people are almost always union because they need the benefits that they can't get otherwise. But with voice actors and actors, they will be a little bit more fluid as to whether or not they want to
Hmm.
be in it. But typically union people support union people because that's just what the union's purpose is.
Hmm. So like with this whole well, that's the because I when that whole thing with Earthspark came out, I used to, I hate that thing just because union is that means better voice acting because I ain't seen non-unions with fantastic voice performances.
Hmm.
And I seen union series that are really bad performances. It doesn't matter.
Dragon
The
Ball's never been a union dub. That's why
and I
James
think.
Marsters came in under a pseudonym. That's why
Hmm.
Jameson Price does a pseudonym.
Hmm. That's the thing. I just so many people misunderstand what a non-union union production means, and it really kind of missed me off because because when the
And I
people
will
were
say
trying to
this
compare
with
it to
Transformers War for Cybertron, the issue was never the voice actors, it was the voice direction.
direction, yeah,
Yep.
that show is not that show's fault is not non-union. The fault of the show is the voice direction.
Yep.
Is nothing. That's the thing because people are like, oh man, it was union that could bring back Peter Cole and Frank Welker. If they didn't bring them back, I won't be sorry. They had the same level of directing.
Hmm.
It just because Colin and Welker, so the anime being is gonna have better voice acting.
A bad script and a bad director could make the best actor the worst performance.
Hmm. Yeah, that's yeah. That's they. Hmm. Let's see more. I mean, more chat. Let's see. Japan doesn't have a union issue.
That's because their talent agencies are like essentially prisons. Um,
Yeah, that's the thing. Japan might not have union stuff over there, but they have their
you
own
can't work unless you're
problems.
with the talent agency, and the talent agencies will work you until you're dead.
Don't let's not go into island issue where it's a nightmare over there.
Oh no, like there's a there's lawsuits happening in Japan with how the talent agencies are. The thing is with the talent, if you ever see like an actor you like retire and go do a different career, it's because they got tired of the talent agencies. Like Ultraman Mabius now runs restaurants because he's way happier doing that than acting because he doesn't have to deal with agencies anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, like there's a reason why was Umbrella Yellow wasn't. Yeah, they came back for a long time into the 20th anniversary because she just want to live her life and not deal with agency and stuff like that.
Yep.
Let's see. Prior to this, like how I think it's responding to the Hannibal Taylor, like how someone else needs to be playing Tommy Oliver in an anime PR other than JDM. I mean, we're animated.
JDS
I
says
think,
he's done. If they were to do anything with Tommy now, they'll have to get another actor. Fine by
well,
me.
yeah, if they're gonna bring back Tommy ever in the show, it's gonna be all suit and different a
Yep.
voice actor playing him.
I mean, Jeffrey
Um,
Perazzo played Tommy in the SPD crossover.
mhm. See, LPH. I don't know if it was worse than the whole CM Punk's or AEW, or this is because I don't want to talk about that Kanye West to make controversy last month.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know. I don't follow wrestling enough to know that. Uh,
Wales.
and the only thing I want to say on Kanye West is Adidas took way too long to drop him.
See, LPH. So, do LWB have a union?
No, but they hire unions because none of the studios have any control over the unions. Typically, and I can't talk to this on like an actor side of things or as much, but here comes film school 101. There is so for example in Hollywood, there is a there's the Screen Actors Guild and American Performers of Theater Arts or whatever. It's SAG-AFTRA, covers actors. And you have the Directors Guild of America, the Writers Guild of America, the Producers Guild of America, and the IATSE. And the IATSE is the International Association of Theater and Screen um, Engineers. And so essentially that is, or technical engineers, essentially that's all your crew people. So when you have a production, none of the studios have any control over the unions, and they keep it that way to keep everyone in check. So while Warner Brothers, as a large studio, is going to want to work with unions and not non-union talent, because with crew stuff, I can speak to this specifically because it's the stuff I experienced. With crew stuff, you have to have in order to work on a film production, the film production has to agree to hire all union department heads. You can hire non-union crew, but all the department heads for the crew have to be union in order for it to count towards a union production. You need to get your benefits. You could work non-union if you want, but the union won't cover anything for you. But then, that's how they get new union members in. So, like, for example, in my state, I would have to work under a union member on a production for 30 days in order to qualify to get into the union, to become a union member, which is really hard to do, but it's doable. Whereas in other places like Los Angeles, if you wanted to work crew there, each crew position has a different union. So it's like if you want to do lighting, you have to go into the lighting union. If you want to do transportation, you have to do the transportation union. And then you get added to a list. And then they just call from the top of the list all the way down. Now, in terms of, because I'm seeing this another thing, question about productions in Georgia. So this comes down to crew placement across the country, and you can be in a union, but if you don't have a union card for the state you're working in, you have to like do a bunch of paperwork. Now, for Georgia, the reason why a lot of live action productions are moving to Georgia is because they have a law in place that if a film production comes into Georgia and films, the state of Georgia will give that studio money for coming to film there. It's a tax break incentive. Essentially, the thing that you do is that like you take your production to Georgia. Georgia will say, okay, cool, you don't have to pay taxes on this production, and then that means the studios just save several $1,000,000. The big hotspots for filming, because Los Angeles got too expensive essentially, and California got too
Mhm.
expensive for filming. So there were several hotspots that came up. It was New Mexico, it was Georgia, and it was Toronto, Canada. Those are the three major hotspots because all three of those places offer a tax break to studios coming in. With
Doesn't New Zealand also have something like that?
that's a different thing we'll talk about in a moment. Um, so with Georgia, Marvel Studios built a studio in Georgia and didn't have to pay any taxes for building that studio. That's why all their Disney Plus shows film out there and a lot of their movies film there too, because they already have a studio built out there, and then they get tax breaks on everything. And because they work in Georgia frequently, the Georgia crew know how to work Marvel stuff. They don't have to retrain people each time. Now for New Zealand doesn't typically have crew unions because it's a smaller industry out there. But what they'll do is they'll give you a rebate for filming out there. So, for example, this was discovered because Power Rangers accidentally violated this. New Zealand essentially gave the Power Rangers production $6 million to come film it in New Zealand as an incentive. Then they also didn't have to pay taxes as long as they promoted the country of New Zealand, which is why there's a bunch of episodes in Dino Charge where they're making Pavlov and talking about New Zealand culture suddenly, because those were the qualifications to get a cashback statement from the country of New Zealand for filming in their country. And the reason why they bring in actors from the U.S. to New Zealand is because they want to have an American feel, even though everything is produced in New Zealand by New Zealand people. That's how
I think
Power
it's so
Rangers saves
different.
money.
when did they start doing that? Because I know the Disney era started with just getting New Zealand actors
So
for.
it was Ninja Storm was the first one to move fully to New Zealand. They had shot some stuff in Australia during season 3 of Power Rangers when they were doing the movie. Or season 2 of Power Rangers, they did the movie and stuff. They filmed in Australia. And then they moved the full production to New Zealand after Wild Force
I'm more
because
talking about when did they start bringing U.S. actors to New Zealand? Because didn't
so
Ninja Storm?
that's the I'll tell about that. I'll go run the timeline real quick. So they moved production from uh, the U.S. to New Zealand because Disney wanted to pay as little as possible for Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm was let's see, 5 New Zealand actors and 1 Canadian actor. Don't know how that all worked out, but that's just how it was. For Dino Thunder, they brought
Which one?
in
Which one
two.
was Canadian?
It was Navy Thunder.
Blake's okay.
Yeah,
Makes okay.
Blake is Canadian. Everybody else was from New Zealand. For Dino Thunder, they brought in 2 from Canada, 1 from the U.S., which was Tommy, and then Kira and Connor were from New Zealand. So you had kind of a mix. SPD was mostly Canadian and U.S. actors, minus like Kat and Kruger and the supporting cast. They were New
Oh,
Zealand.
John Tui is this New Zealand?
John Tooney's New Zealand, yeah. He still lives there, I think. In fact, because I know his family's from the Samoan Islands. Because that's how he ended up in Hobbs and Shaw. Because Dwayne Johnson knew him because their families were in the same areas, something like that. But anyways, um, so the SPD cast, but then with Mystic Force, all New Zealand actors. Overdrive was all New Zealand. Jungle Fury was all New Zealand. RPM was all New Zealand. They just stopped bringing in actors from the U.S. to do that, except
But
for Once a
Samurai
Ranger.
onwards is when they all
Samurai
U.S.
onwards
cast.
because Saban had a little bit of money in his pocket. Thought let's just bring actors from the U.S. And then it started to get mixed again because like with Ninja Steel White was New Zealand. With Dino Charge Black was New Zealand, and that was also for the tax incentive. And then with Dino Fury, Green is New Zealand. I don't know if anybody from Beast Morphers was from New Zealand.
I think Beast Wars was all U.S.
Oh,
I want to say
Commander
that.
Shaw, she was New
Ah,
Zealand.
okay.
So a lot of those were New Zealand, but then they brought in mostly actors from other places because that was so they could get the feeling of a U.S. show, even though it's shot in New Zealand. Whereas like you get other shows that are shot in New Zealand, like Lord of the Rings, they feel like a New Zealand show, just because that's how it is.
Ring of Powers is New Zealand.
Which was that?
Was it Amazon's Ring of Power? That's
Yeah,
New Zealand.
and also the movies. The movies are shot in New
All
Zealand.
right.
So,
Can you confirm or not? Because I always been hearing
mm.
misconceptions about PR's New Zealand stuff. Is it true there's a law in New Zealand where all the production staff need to be New Zealand? Is that true?
I don't think it's a law, but it doesn't make any sense to bring in production staff. Maybe
Because I hear like because a lot of the writers of the modern day
yeah,
stuff is New Zealand and such. Is
it's
that
cheaper.
true?
It's way cheaper to just hire the local talent. Um, Unless you're getting a high profile writer, there's no reason to bring them from the outside because they'd have to be there to do
Because
stuff.
Simon Bennett's New Zealand. I'm
He's New
pretty
Zealand,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is producers on Power Rangers that are not New Zealand, obviously through all
And
the
that's the
years.
same with the voice talent also, because right?
Yeah, the voice talent's almost all New Zealand now,
Yeah,
but
because
they
Campbell Cooley's New Zealand,
but
right?
during Samurai they were bringing in past Ranger actors that weren't New Zealand. But that's very much the case. They'll if they can do it, if they can hire somebody in New Zealand that does what they need them to do, they'll do it because they're cheaper because there's no unions there. Like they don't do well. There's unions there, but they're cheap. They're just cheaper to get because New Zealand's film industry is small compared to the U.S. and Hollywood and stuff.
All right, because there's always there's been like a rumor or misconception about
Yeah,
why we became the same people for many years for the Neo Saban onwards is because that
it's cheaper and they shoot in the same location, so they just rehire the same people each year.
mhm.
That's the simple answer. It's just because they're trying to cut down because Power Rangers has always been and probably will always be a cheaper production. And especially if you're adapting a Sentai, you're not wanting to spend a bunch of money extra.
For
So
The John and Winslow project when that starts beginning, do you think they'll stay in New Zealand or you
I
think
think they're going to go
they'll
to
go?
Canada.
Yeah, I think
I'm going to be
Canada.
honest because I think they're going to shoot it in probably in Canada or maybe Georgia. Georgia's a little packed right now with Marvel stuff, but Canada's where they shoot like Titans and Doom Patrol, and that's how they save money there. All of
I
Star Trek, all of the live action Star Trek, oh no, Discovery and Strange New Worlds, they shoot in Canada because it's cheaper. Even though a bunch of actors from the U.S. and Canada, and then I know Picard shot in L.A. because Patrick Stewart, but two of the Star Trek shows shoot in Canada because it's cheaper. So Power Rangers would probably shoot in Canada because it's cheaper as well, but not
I
all the way
mean,
to New Zealand because there's no reason to.
I always find it interesting with Canada because going back to voice actors and actors because I from what I know is the whole actor scene in Canada is a lot more different compared to the U.S.
Yep.
Where there's a reason why you see voice actors in Canadian voice actors in live actor productions,
Mm.
for example. Like I think Scott McNeil's in Riverdale, from what I heard,
I,
and there's a
yeah,
reason why. And like, there's always a reason why sometimes you watch a movie that make Canada. There's always kind of a chance Gary Chalk will be in there somewhere.
it's true. I mean, they threw him into a Sonic movie because of that. Um, and that's the thing is that yeah, the Canadian voice act, and also I've noticed this happen with some of the American voice actors. Like Phil Lamar was in Supergirl, playing Martian Manhunter's brother.
It's
Um,
always weird. It's kind of weird
yeah,
because it's actually funny when speak of that because yeah, I know with the Nickelodeon sitcom Big Time Rush. One thing I was unexpected to see about that series is to see a lot of voice actors being actors in that show, where like you see Tara Strong
yeah,
and Phil Lamar and Rob Paulson playing this
yeah.
character in that show. That weirded me out because like what the
It's so
because
strange. Yeah, I mean,
because
when Scott McNeil was like on camera in Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, that was a
that's
trip,
the yeah, that's the best character in that show.
honestly. Yeah. Let's see, where are we at comments
Let's
wise? Because we
see
did a
about let's
whole
see
big breakdown about
Russian
the
Wander about
production.
union issues in Japan.
Uh,
Western cheaters VA can't be in war with Star Trek because of the union conflict. I also thought that was because Ian George is in Canada and that's in Canada.
yeah.
But in Japan, the VA for TR can return for war. Yeah, like in Japan, it's more easy to get back actors
Mhm.
in Japan compared to yeah, compared to West. Usually, the time when it comes to actors in Japan is usually just if they're available.
It's just scheduling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's
there's a
like
reason.
in some act like the busier, more popular an actor is, their schedule's 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah, I know because when I know for example like Dragon Ball Super, we got to the episode where Krill and Goku got to the Force illusions with all the past villains illusions, and like they apparently read they want to bring back all the actors, but they just scheduling conflicts couldn't
Yep.
get back all those actors for all those characters.
I know, for example, like when they had Kamen Rider Forze in one of the Heisei Generations movies, they planned that 4 years out. Like they
Hmm.
had to schedule him 4 years out, and they built the movie around him
I
to
mean, and then
to
that's
be
why
able to
like
get him.
Gaku Sato was not in the Ghosts and was it Ghost and Exit
Yeah.
movie, and they had to
Mm.
use archive audio, Frankenstein archive audio for a time.
Yeah. No, and then also like when they had Deno show up, or Ryotaro was in one of the movies, that was also scheduled years in advance.
Yeah, so you always wonder why, like, a certain actor just in a movie. That's because that's why.
Yep. And that's why like and Toei does not like to work more than like a year or two in advance. Because like for example, like with Geo, they didn't have that in the books. They just suddenly were like, let's just do it. Because if they had it in the books, they probably could have scheduled more actor availability than what
Yep.
they could
The
have.
only exception to this whole rule was Gokaiger because the whole tsunami
The
in
Tsunami
Japan.
got a lot of actors to go, oh, I can drop my schedule and do a cameo. I want to do a
Hmm.
cameo. They really wanted to do that because of everything that was happening.
But that's like the exception
Yeah.
to the norm
And also in general, Sentai actors are easier to get back because they are not as high profile as like lead common writers.
compared to like Phillips actor for
Yeah,
example.
lead common writer actors are heartthrobs and will get work. Sentai actors typically will still get work consistently, but they will not be as in demand. And it's just the nature of the two franchises.
I mean, it's like there's if you're ever wondering why so many voice actors and actors go to conventions, that's where I think they get a lot of their money from.
Yeah, the thing is like acting's tough because you get a like as an actor you get a
It's
lump
not a
sum.
consistent job. It's not a consistent job.
It's not a consistent job. You get a lump sum. Like for me, when I was working film crew, I even had that issue of like I would go months without work just because there wasn't anything to have, or the people that were hiring didn't want to talk to you, and it's a fickle business. And it was like I was getting paid hourly, but it's not like I was getting paid hourly consistently throughout the year. It would be like, oh, there's no productions happening between November and December, so you just wouldn't have work. And it
The
sucks. And at
the
least as
reason
an actor,
why
you have the option to go to conventions and get autographs.
the
There's a lot
reason
of crew
why a lot of
people
voice
that
actors
can't do
stream.
that.
There's the reason why a lot of voice actors stream now.
Yep. You ever see voice actors doing stuff that's like how Yoshi Sudarso has like a whole like live stream thing that he does, and also like does Digimon card game live plays? It's because he doesn't have his acting gigs at the moment, and it's a reality of acting. You're never gonna have consistent work unless you're making your own work. Like essentially, like Dwayne Johnson never is not working because he is a producer who has his own production company and makes sure that he always has work.
I know Yuri Lowenthal has his own production company, so
Yeah.
that he's always constantly at work.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to reach your Lowenthal on Twitter because he's constantly working on stuff.
hmm
Um, and it's yeah, if you have your own production company, you can actually push for your own to make sure you have stuff going all the time.
Let's see, Logic Blaster in the chat. Let's see. First, you said I think X Files film a lot. Their season in Vancouver. Yeah, X Files is
Vancouver
Vancouver.
was really popular until Toronto was a little bit cheaper.
And second, you said love your videos about the Playmate Star Trek action figures.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy them. I'm going to be working on the next
Don't you
sort of
have
video
everything?
soon.
Don't you have all the Wave One stuff now?
I have all the Wave 1 stuff now except for the phaser because I don't need another phaser in my life.
It was weird because I was not expecting the Star Trek action figures to be in the collector little wall
It's because
in
they
my
don't have a
targets.
planogram yet. Because I don't think they're going
So
to get a planogram until Prodigy toys start hitting.
yeah, so it's always interesting when I go to the area where I find the Dragon Stars or the Anime Heroes or
Yeah.
the NECA stuff. There's some Star Trek figures
I
there.
imagine Playmates isn't playing. I imagine that Playmates is going to pay for a planogram in Target when Prodigy toys hit and they have more stuff.
Have you able to find a Bio Hero at all at Target? I have not yet found a Bio Hero at
I've
Target.
not, but I've seen them at Walmart.
Oh, they're at Walmart. Okay,
Yep.
where do you usually find those?
Let's see. The last time I saw a Vital Hero, it was sitting next to the Masters of the Universe stuff, which was weird. And then there was some locked up in electronics.
So okay, so it depends. Some are in toys, some in electronics.
Yeah,
Okay,
it just depends on the store.
so I still need to get one.
Mm.
Let's see.
We're gonna
Let's
start wrapping
see.
up here because we've been going too. I started late, so we'll go to 7:20.
7-11 right now.
We'll
So
go
what
to
time?
7:20. So let's roll through some
So
stuff.
let's see. Psycho Overdrive had two people from London. The rest are New Zealand.
I do not remember who was from London, but I imagine one of them was the butler. Maybe.
Let's see. Let's see. Swift guy no Goku yells as a VA. Yeah, Mouse a voice actor
That's
now.
why she even gets like Toku voice acting gigs. Toei keeps her employed really well. That's why getting her back for Gokaiger was easy because she's already in the company.
Let's see. Let's see. Russian Water. Did you know the PR was banned in New Zealand because writers in PR might have
It
trouble?
was because of violence.
Violence, yeah.
Yeah, it was banned because the parent groups thought it was too violent, which is silly because Power Rangers is like one of the least violent shows ever.
Psycho. Will Rose and Spencer are from London.
Okay, yeah, that's I forgot that because like I don't know, everybody has accents, so
Yeah.
just blows
Let's
together.
see. Psycho wasn't Joe the issue with Gokaiger?
Yeah, he was busy. That's why they didn't do a full reunion again until they had to schedule that out, and then they were. That's why he wasn't he only like barely in 10 years Gokaiger, 10 Gokaiger.
From what I've seen, because I actually haven't seen the full special yet, I think so.
I think he was in in it the least. I know it was mostly
He's in there,
green,
but not compared to others. He was at least three
green and
times.
yellow were like in there the most. I think.
Yeah, again, Mouse he's a get because she
Yeah.
works with there's some content with her. Russian Wonder, I think Shao is working to get the licensed Alex and Fies. We just kind of assumed that maybe because
I'm hearing that Toku HD may not have a current license anymore. It's
yeah,
still
so
available for streaming, but it might be running out soon.
we just kind of assume once that shows up that Shao might grab them, but who knows?
I think Shout will snag them if they can, but Discotech feels like the kind of company to tackle like
Showa.
Showa because they
hmm
just typically skew older with their material, and the shows they get. But I think I think as well as that it definitely they definitely those shows get picked up by somebody else if they become available.
Commerce 64. Do you think Shop Factory will still have more copies of VR
Nope.
Troopers and Beetleborg left in the vault? Nope, I think they're gone,
They
right?
sold every copy they got. If it's you because they it was exclusive to their website, they sold every copy they got. That's
Mm.
it sucks because those shows should be available, but they're not, and it's terrible because
I mean,
they are hard to find.
good. It's just good that those are archived at least now. It's
Yeah,
like,
I know the Internet Archive of those DVDs is not in good standing at the moment, and that needs to get re-upped by somebody. But those shows are not lost; they're just hard to find.
horrifying officially.
Hard to find is not the same as lost media.
Yep. Yes, yeah. Anybody in the chat gives it your last like
Yeah, I'll go
questions
for another
now.
6 minutes, and then I gotta cut it off because Barnes and Noble's having a book sale, and I need books that never get used on the channel. Just
You know how you do the Digimon card comparisons in the Digimon videos. You do that for books. They just use to showcase them.
oh god, yeah, I should do a whole video about comic book spine art. 'Cause, oh my god, there's some
You
nightmares.
mean also you show the inconsistencies with the TMNT and Sonic IDW
The
collections?
TMNT ones are fine. It's the Sonic ones that drive me up a wall. I'm waiting till the Knuckles one comes out. I'll do a video after that. I'll be like, look,
Uh,
let's see what they did.
let's see this. Let's see. Favorite Star Trek YouTuber.
I like Trek culture a lot. Their ups and downs breakdowns for each episode of Trek is great. Trek Yards does some good stuff. Um, who else? I used to like Junk Ball Transmissions videos, and they got a little mean spirited lately. But he only posts like once every eight or so months.
You want to talk
Um,
about recent toy review I found recently for the last couple of weeks that
there's
I'm
one
really a
other name I'm
fan
trying
of.
to remember that was a big Trek
Um,
YouTuber, and I can't think.
is that Trek YouTuber? He's a toy
Yeah.
reviewer, but
Anyways, go for it because my brain slipped. I don't remember who else.
one of my favorite YouTubers, toy reviews I found recently is 5 Points of Articulations. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah, I have.
I
I don't
really
get as
like.
much time to watch YouTube as I'd like to. But
You know what's funny? Because he was uploading his NECA Turtle videos around the same time you were uploading your NECA Turtle videos.
I noticed somebody else posted a Kessler Werewolf video at the same time mine did. Like, it's just
Let's
weird.
see. Does Saban want to get the OG and Digimon from Disney?
They didn't. I think Digimon defaulted to Toei because when
They
Saban,
just got Cross Wars, right?
yeah, because they just got Cross Wars, and because at the same time Cross Wars was coming out because of Fusion having media prominence, Flatiron Films released the 5 dubbed Digimon shows to DVD, and they had the old Saban logo on it, not the Saban brands, and they didn't have any Saban copyright. It was just Toei. And they
Mm.
also released Fusion as well. Like they just were like, "Hey, can we get Fusion?" And Saban's like, "Sure."
Did they? So they did the Fusion DVD. Is that all of the first series, or is that only like a half of it?
There's two Fusion sets. Season 1 is all of the first season. Season 2 is all the second season. So all the dub stuff was
Did they
released.
ever release the second set? Because I always see the first
They
set.
did. It was just
Okay.
really limited because they pretty much because the show was so unpopular that it just didn't have
Mm.
any shelf life.
Now I just wait for Discotech to release, all
Discotech's
to make
probably
it.
going to get to it if they can.
Mm. Let's see. Sabanda. Let's see. You want to have more writer release, but someone must take time with subs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in a rush because I'm sitting here with like I own almost every Ultraman show, but like half the sets I'm like these could have used a second or third pass. So
I assume they pick up more Ultra sets because because I only have
a bunch of them are
Taro.
going on sale. You might want to keep an eye out because I've been seeing like some really deep discounts lately.
Yeah, yeah, it does need. Well, I'm mostly waiting them to sale, not because I don't think they're worth the price. It just
It's
I
easier when you have a backlog. Like right now, I think the City Hunter Blu-rays are worth the price, but I'm still watching the first set, so I'm gonna wait till like disc Right Stuff's holiday sale to go pick up the ones I don't
yeah.
have.
For me, it's not because I don't think they're worth the price. More of like I need to save money kind of scenarios.
And especially when there's a bunch of them and you're not necessarily trying to watch it at the immediate moment, and it's not like a limited edition. Yeah, you can wait for a sale. I do that with my
Yeah,
DC stuff because I don't.
yeah. I just have Taro, the Ultra Galaxy Fight series and movie, the Zero collection, Ginga, and Rube, and that's the only ones I have so far.
Yeah,
And Gridman, technically,
yeah.
but
No, keep an eye out on the sales though because they'll probably go on sale again this for
mm.
Black Friday.
I'm waiting for Grid Dynasty to be on sale because I'm not paying full price as much as I love the show.
It's not worth full price. It doesn't even have any bonuses.
I love the show, but I'm not paying full price for that set.
It's not worth full price.
Let's see. Uh, see. This everyone just get your last questions before we go off
Yeah,
stream.
we got about 1 more minute. Let's see. Yes, I
Did
did
you
see
see?
Ultraman Max got delayed till January. I retweeted it, I think. I haven't been posting my own tweets about Ultraman stuff. I've just been retweeting, but I think that got delayed because Mill Creek was trying to put out too much, and manufacturer was like, "Yo, stop it," because
I mean, especially with the whole disc crisis. Is that solved now, or is
case
it still
case
going on?
shortages might still be in effect. I think it's starting to clear up, but they might still be in effect for DVD. I know Blu-rays case shortages got cleared up. Disc replicators are a thing that you do, like. Mill Creek doesn't have their own setup. They have to send them to somewhere to be manufactured, and
Mhm,
if the queue builds up too much, they'll start telling them no. And I think that with Mill Creek trying to pump out 6 Ultraman sets, like they were going to put out 3 sets in one day originally. It was going to be like, I think it was supposed to be Zaearth, Neos, and Cosmos were all supposed to come out the same day, and then Cosmos didn't make it, and then they were going to put out Nexus and Max the same day, and Max got pushed. I think it's just that whoever is their manufacturer probably serves other customers and just turn them down. They're like, "Look, we have to, we in order for us to be able to produce all this, you have to stop giving us so much a month because that's a lot. Like the discounts on those, Discotech was talking about, like they have 14 discs in January, which is the most they've ever done. Mill Creek was wanting to put out 22 discs within a 30-day period.
mm.
And so I think for whatever reason, they were really trying to push to get all the Ultra sets that were in the original contract out before the end of the year.
To get the,
And
I'm imagining holiday sales. That's why.
I guess, but they were trying to push it because things kept getting delayed. After Mabius, things just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and then it all built up, and then it just all dominoed out because I think they're trying to push it, but their manufacturer's probably telling them no, and it's a whole big mess. The thing I do want to say, because it'll be my last thing on this, is that Cosmos is out. Nexus is still coming out the 15th. They just reconfirmed that. I know somebody got a review copy, so it's out there. It's happening. Kids is probably still coming out because they didn't do a delay announcement for that. And Max is probably that after. They got back to 1 set a month, or in the case of Neos and Zaearth, which were super delayed, even though the release date was met. Only Deep Discount got them. Amazon didn't get them right away. That was only 3 discs. So
Because that's just one series and 2 movies
exactly. So
set.
that was 3 discs in total. Cosmos was 8 discs, and they were probably like, "Look, we can't do this and this and this. What are you doing to us?" And so I think that's my theory. My theory is that they just had to spread them out a bit. Max being in January, it's fine. Now that does say, that does say to me their contract still exists through January 2023. That's a good sign that their contract is still going, and they were just trying to get the backlog done of what they'd already licensed. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. All right.
Speaking
Uh,
of speaking of this, have you seen the really bad Eddie and Foster's complete series that Warner just put out?
I don't want to talk about those. They make me
Those
sad.
are those are
They're
really
awful, and the fact
bad.
that they're still more expensive than a Sentai DVD set, which I think are pretty.
Then he said it's like 80 or $70 from us. I
It was
saw, and
supposed to be 60's the list price, and Amazon's charging 80 for both of them.
it's so bad. Like not only the fact that like the he says like incomplete, but like the first 2 seasons are the old DVDs, which
Yep.
should fine, but the rest is this ugly, like
It
done
looks
in
like a Warner Archive release, but not with the care and attention that Warner Archive would give it.
like the menus look like something out of like a free like
Yeah, well,
DVD.
that's because Warner Brothers menus on everything are like that.
Yeah, I know, but guy, it looks so bad.
Last thing I will answer: want to see a Shonen Sunday crossover fighting game? Yeah, Shonen crossover games are fun.
I
Um,
can't. The problem is I can't think of any. I'm blanking on like Sunday Jump Pacific
yeah,
series right now.
I don't follow a lot of them, but I always like anime
I
fighters.
know it's Shonen Jump, but I can't figure out Sunday Jump. That's something I need to look more into. So
Always more fighting games, but
I'm still surprised Chainsaw Man Shonen Jump. How is that Shonen Jump?
no idea. But on that note, I'm gonna wrap up this stream because we've been going for a couple hours. If you guys missed anything, go watch the replay, which will be available shortly. And if
Yeah.
you,
Do you want to say anything next week? Because I'm assuming you're gonna do videos. Go back to videos next week.
we're going back to videos next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5
You
p.m.
want
Eastern. Um,
any teasers for
you're getting
next week?
a review, an unboxing, and an analysis video. That's and maybe not in that order. It might be unboxing, review, analysis, actually. But I'm going to be talking about Hasbro in an analysis video. You can speculate what that is on your own.
I
Um,
think it's pretty obvious, I'm pretty sure.
it's not
People
what you
don't
think it is. We're going to be covering a lot of, I think in November in general, I have 3 analysis videos about the toy industry as a whole. And yeah, so look forward to those. But the first one of those is coming next week because I've got one package that I'm waiting on to show up to do it, and it should be here tomorrow. So that is pretty much the end of that. So we're gonna wrap it out. Go follow Darklaw on Twitter
at,
at Darklaw six
at
four
Darko
three.
643. You want any art commissions like any of the ones you saw among the monsters? You like the animations and such I did for my monsters? Feel free to DM me for any of those stuff you saw
He
my
did awesome
monsters.
work. It really brought a lot of ambiance to the video intros. So I appreciate everything you did, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. And yeah, if you didn't hit the like button on your way out. And thanks for coming. But that is the end of the stream. Goodbye, everybody. I always freeze when I hit the end stream button.